Yo. Death Grip now has a 15-second cooldown outside of PvP combat was 25 seconds. Oh, wait. Real shit? Is that actually real? Oh, cool. Only Frost and Unholy? Well, I mean, Blood already... Yeah, that's good. That's great. Bro, I'm not gonna lie. I turned my stream on today with absolutely no... Uh... Like, I didn't look into anything. I just fucking turned this shit on. That means this is gonna be a longer stream than it would have normally been. That's fucking sick. Unholy Decay target caps? Hmm. If you're a DK, that feels bad. In the scope of the whole game, I would say there's less like really broken uncapped classes, uncapped classes than there are like most people that are just capped at 8. So I think as long as everyone cares about everyone being on the same playing field, it's much more realistic that they're going to put everyone to 8 rather than make everyone uncapped. So, grand scheme of things, that might be good. But if you're like an unholy enjoyer specifically, you're sad because you're going to be replaced with someone else that doesn't have a target cap, I guess. Why not target Boomy at the same time, though? Yeah, you're not wrong. Oh, and dogs are starting to bark. Did these get posted like yesterday or today? These changes. $3 ago? Shit. All right, let me go get some water, and then I'll be good to go. Oh, we're barking. All right, what do we got today, boys? Hello, hello, hello. It's me. DPS and tank DK grip equalities here. You guys said they changed it, which, by the way, huge dub. Huge dub on that. But they didn't give, or they didn't remove mass grip, right? That, I mean, that part I'm not super concerned about. Like, they've done a decently good job of making sure that mass grip specifically isn't, like, super good over many years. But also, I'd have to go back and look, because the main reason mass grip wasn't super sick is because A-bomb's limb existed. So I don't know. Also, they seem to say in raid specifically, which is where raid buffs are supposed to apply, even though they certainly have impact on dungeon balance, which is an entirely other subject. But I think it should be pretty easy for Blizzard to make grip a raid buff. Like, not just like going forward, right? Like, all it takes is like on like a couple hard bosses, there's just an ad that there's an ad that has a bunch of health, and then they just make it grippable. For the last couple years, those ads just haven't been gripped. Like, they can do that, but I don't know. Still feel like giving them a raid buff makes more sense. But this problem, in my opinion, was more important than the raid buff. We'll get into that in a little bit. When we go over the actual thing on Wowhead. I'm probably going to chill for a little bit first, but in my opinion, the inequality between DPS and Blood Decay, as far as what their value was, that was a bigger issue than them not having a raid buff, like by far. And the reason why is, okay, let's say you need to bring a DK because they give the whole raid haste. You're still, it's just a Blood Decay though, right? Same problem Enhance had for many years. So this was a more important thing to solve, honestly. But it would be... At least they did it, though. Good change. Mass grip was insane before A-bomb's limbs in a lot... Okay, you're typing a lot of caps. I'm assuming when you type a word in caps, you're yelling. Mass grip was insane before A-bomb limb in a lot of raid fights like that. Maybe a lot of memorable raid fights, but I don't know if that's true. Like, I'm thinking like maybe 1 to 2 fights a tier you even used it. And then as far as it being insane, like you couldn't have done without it, I mean, I'd have to look. But yeah, I mean, A-bomb's limb certainly devalued mass grip because it was just more convenient. It did damage. Do you think that there's a warlock equivalent, like a raid buff that's not just a plus thing? What do you mean? Do I think there's a warlock equivalent? I mean, it just depends on how they design the fights, right? Like, warlocks have hellstones. That's the real raid buff. Like, in reality, the wipe it all matters for warlocks. Like the gateway, the summons, the wipe protection. But the health zones is truly the thing that matters. Like Gateway, Gateway and Grip are actually very similar. Like there's probably Gateway as a raid, as far as it being needed to kill a raid fight, or like very close to needed, is about the same as single Death Grip, to be honest with you. Like there's like usually like 1 or 2 fights a tier where you need Death Grip, and there's usually 1 or 2 fights a tier, or yeah, around there, where like Gateway is required. But other than, like, that's not required on every boss at all. In fact, like most fights, Gateway basically doesn't do anything. Same thing with Grip. But then Warlocks have all that other stuff, and more importantly, Hellstones. Hellstones are just absurdly broken. They're so good. They're so OP. Like doing like world first progression without gateway, most bosses is fine. Doing it without wipe prevention, not ideal, but possible. Like doing world first bosses without hellstones is like that's not a thing. It's just too good. What's the most important raid buff? Like if they didn't stack and you could only use one, which one would you take? I think we've talked about this before. It's not really a super interesting conversation because it's just a numbers thing, and it doesn't really matter because you don't have to do that. I guess in Mythic Plus is kind of the topic of conversation. Like if you could choose any, it's like I'm actually pretty sure it's Shaman. I think it used to be Mark of the Wild. I think Shaman is actually like the biggest single DPS increase for a raid. And then Mark of the Wild. But then you'd have to determine like how much value is damage versus survivability, right? Like for example, Powered Fortitude, you know, it's not giving you any damage, but like you can't really put how valuable is having extra HP. Sometimes it's way better than any amount of damage you can be gaining, and sometimes it doesn't matter, you know? You'd have to, I guess, average that out. Sprocket Gate. Yeah, but like outside of Sprocket, in this raid, when would you use a Warlock Gateway? And you were like, this is like a thing you need to kill the fight. So Gallywix, I don't think there's any. Muggsy, I don't think there's any. One Armed Bandit, there isn't any. It's Sprocket, that's it. It's helpful on Bandit. Yeah, helpful and like required are different. But even then, like I don't think we. Oh, is it for like range to get out? I mean, I don't know. Soulstone saves more progress hours than any other raid buff. Yeah, it's weird. How do you define raid buff's value and how much it reduces your progress hours, or like how fast you kill a raid boss? Well, I guess progress hours means that, but like, for example, if a boss is barely killable, like we're wiping at Nexus Princess Kaiveza under 1%, right? Like wipe prevention isn't making that possible. But I understand that it makes sense that I look at things in terms of what is possible and what isn't, and you guys don't, right? Because when you get to a boss, it's been proven to be possible before, so it's just a matter of time. So you're looking at it more from the time angle. The problem with lock raid utility is that it's not good for Mythic Plus at all. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Mythic Plus isn't entirely defined by raid buffs, but like they really matter. I mean, it was for a while, right? Like, you had like the comp for a while was like just all sick raid buffs. It was like Priest, it was Druid, it was Vengeance DH. I mean, it's the reason they nerfed Arcane Intellect and Chaos Brand, right? Was purely because of how prevalent they were in Mythic Plus. And in my opinion, those were actually really good nerfs. Like, think about it. If the purpose of a raid buff is to make sure a class is represented in raid, and they nerf those things, I think one of them was nerfed by like 40% or something, and it still guarantees a spot for one mage in a raid comp or one DH in a raid comp, but it makes those things less OP in Mythic Plus and makes other raid buffs and other classes more relevant because those things are less required. Isn't that has to just be good for the game, right? Like if the only purpose of raid buffs is to bring one of that thing into a raid, which seems to be the idea, then they should be as weak as possible to still guarantee that, but not make them define the Mythic Plus meta, right? Wait, I got it. Casting Great Buffs requires 6 pledges, so you can't do it Mythic Plus. I mean, there would just be other things that are unbalanced on Mythic Plus, though. You know, like you would just take the things that aren't target capped. It's kind of never going away. There is kind of one cool thing about raid buffs and Mythic Plus, if any, and I don't even know if this is like, this certainly doesn't equal out all the other stuff. But what I like about it is, isn't there like 2 comps right now? Like there's like the de facto magic comp. Let me see if I can find this on Raider.io actually. Oh, we might look at this later. Someone in my sub Discord opened like a Reddit thread apparently of Scripe going over some Echo roster stuff, which apparently he was getting in questions because of response to that YouTube clip that was from my stream. So it might be interesting to look at later, but so let me look at like timed run leaderboards here. So it's mostly this like, it's like a caster comp, right? It's not all casters, like there's Unholy DK in there, but it's all like Magic Dam. You got Arcane Int for all the casters. You got Mark of the Wild, broken ass raid buff. You got Fortitude, love having HP and shit. And then you have Chaos Brand for basically exclusively magic damage here, right? And then you have this other comp. It's Warrior, still Mark of the Wild, but Warrior, Shaman, and Monk. So when I saw this, and apparently the lore with this team is they don't use comms. This is what Dorky's been talking. I'm assuming this is the team Dorky's been talking about on the podcast, where this team literally no comms, just like types in chat, and they just fucking, they're just gaming. But one thing I found cool about this is basically because raid buffs exist, and more specifically raid buffs that don't just pertain to like everyone, right? Like Mark of the Wild is not included in this, but specifically like the Warrior buff, the Monk buff, and the Int buff and the Magic buff. I find it fascinating that basically 2 entire comps have been created because of the synergy of those 2 things, right? Like the fact that this is specifically buffing fizz damage and this is specifically buffing melee classes. They built a comp entirely around that. And then this isn't maybe why the other comp was made, but but like those are things that matter and make this comp good, right? The other one, the DH buff, mage buff, right? As like a combo. So like in a way, raid buffs, as much as Mythic Plusters are not a fan of them, they've also created basically for the first time ever, there's been like 2 comps that are relatively close in competitiveness. Like, and when I mean 2 comps, I don't mean like, usually people are saying off meta, they're playing like a comp and then they literally have one thing that's different. Bro, it is an entirely 5 different specs, 4 different classes, you know, completely fucking different. And it basically can only imagine, it can only exist because of the raid buff synergy. And that is at least like the first example I've seen of raid buffs actually being kind of cool in Mythic Plus. Because like if you took all raid buffs out, for example, you'd probably just see the same 5 specs. But because raid buffs exist, and it hasn't happened in other seasons, I'm not arguing for raid buffs, by the way. Never would do that, but I just found this to be particularly interesting. Because I don't think that's happened before. Max, what's the easiest range DPS now after BM Hunter? I don't know if there is one. There might be like a build that you play right now that is like easy on any spec that I'm not thinking of. Maybe Moonkin right now, maybe Dev Evoker. I don't know. For range DPS classes, I don't think like BM Hunter is definitely in a tier of its own, and maybe there's a few in a tier under that, but most of them seem like they have a decent amount of complexity to them. Like the answer for a while wasn't Moonkin, in my opinion, and that's because you guys are purely thinking about like how easy it is to do their rotation, right? But like for a while, and this they made Moonkins tankier, so this isn't as much of a problem now. But like Moonkins used to be the squishiest class in the game, and that adds a lot of difficulty because instead of thinking about like what it takes to hit a target dummy really well, you have to think about like how easy it is to like how much cognitive load do you have in a raid. And your class, I mean, you guys can probably think of this right now. When you are afraid of death imminently when you are playing this game in Mythic Plus or Raid, you're probably not playing very well. Like you're stressed out. You're like thinking about what buttons you're pressing and shit instead of just like going with the flow and having it be second nature. Like no one is playing well when they are afraid of dying. I always use the Skarn example in our guild for this. I won't do that again because I'm sure you all have heard it. But like that matters, right? So like Moonkin, while it was squishy, you could argue it's easy, but it was actually like really, really hard because you were having to try a lot harder than everyone else just to survive, which certainly makes the class harder regardless of the rotation. I don't think it's still that bad. I know their like new class tree a while ago made them a little tankier, but I still think that there's some element of that. Hunter is like current, like BM Hunter from this tier is like clear design intention. We want this to be very easy to play. And I also think that's fine. I think it is good for stuff like that to exist in the game in a small amount. Just in the same way that I think it's good for things like Surrender Madness to exist, because you just can't, you can just not interact with it if you want to. Now, I understand the issue with balance there. Like, if you're someone who can't play the harder version, then you feel like you can't do enough damage and, you know, all that. But is BM actually easier than MM? I'm not sure about current MM rotation, but I remember watching Mark's POV during last raid, and it was, I mean, it was like, I could not believe how dumbed down it was. What a first message. BM Hunter is most fun spec in the game as well. While others say they have a harder class to play, I'm beating them in DPS, topping the charts like I always have. What a bro, you're such a beast, dude. Let's go. What a fucking beast. Fucking yeah, dude. Let's go. None of them are really hard, some are harder to master. Yeah, every WoW spec has a little bit of that. Are you done with the D4 season already? You know, I played it the other day with Shroud and Ghazi, and I made it like I think 8 or 9 hours, and then I stopped playing. But I actually did that. I wasn't like super mad with the season. I didn't even get to like feel anything yet. I didn't even get to feel like I was getting more power. Like basically Ghazi just had like a crazy leveling build and he got really good items, so he was just doing the damage. So like I don't know, you can only play Diablo so long while someone else just happens to get better drops than you or whatever while you're leveling, right? And it's just you're doing content that you couldn't do on your own and you're just like walking. That's just boring, right? You want to feel the power, you want to feel getting stronger, you want to look at your upgrades, you want to like whatever. So like it was that plus for whatever reason, and it seems like a driver update fixed it, I was just crashing over and over and over again. Specifically this season, Nightmare Dungeons have this escalation feature where basically you like do 4 in a row with stacking affixes, and then the fourth one is just you fighting a boss and you get like a shit ton of rewards. Bro, 2 of those in a row, my game froze on the third one and you can't join one in progress, which wasted like over 40 minutes of my time. And it was just devastating. I'm just like, dude, I'm just, and on top of that, I just wasn't into it. I'm just like, I'm out, dude. This is so annoying. Updated my drivers day after, and that stopped happening so far. But yeah, I've been playing the last 2 days off stream probably in total maybe like 6 or 7 hours, but I've actually been having a lot of fun. I'm thinking of re-leveling. Probably need to get someone to boost me though. But I'm thinking of re-leveling and playing the new class from the expansion instead of Sork. The Hydra build is kind of whatever. Evade Spiritborn is pretty fun. Yeah, I'll probably fuck around with it. I'm definitely realizing ARPGs for me are great like off stream YouTube video on second monitor type content. You know, just fucking, you don't care about how fast you're gaining power. You're kind of checking your gear more often. You're just having a good time. No racing, just chilling. Nice chill game. That's what I've been doing. Someone in my channel might be doing that right now. Someone in here might be watching my stream right now, and I am their YouTube video on a second monitor in a way. W. Okay. Let's look at Wowhead. So apparently there's a new build today. I didn't know that before going live today. We can look at that. Leveling herbalism will be fixed next. Nah, who cares about Mob Classic? Dude, I'm kind of sad that, like, when Classic came out and all these old people had, like, all this nostalgia for Classic, and they were like, dude, this is so me, and I just wanted to feel it. I wanted it, dude. I wanted to just play Classic and have another game I'd love to play, but it wasn't there. No nostalgia, and it's just less fun retail. So I don't like it. And every expansion has came and went. Didn't play Season of Discovery. And like the first expansion, I was like, dude, you know what I might be down for? Fucking Mop. Because that was the first expansion where I really started like no-lifing this game. And I have a lot of nostalgia for it. And still, I just, nothing is drawing me to playing Classic. Wish it would. Either way. All right, so is this the shitty Wowhead version? Yeah, unreadable. Let's look at the changes. Here we go. Wait, I just want the update. Maybe I can go to the source picture, actually. Yeah, if I go source and I scroll, they'll usually add, like, a thing to it. No, okay, well, that doesn't work. Cool. Okay, warrior, and then it gets into dungeon PvP stuff we can skip. All right, then there should be a post, like, today. Right? Because we can't look at the Wowhead version. Wowhead version, unfortunately unreadable. All right, here we go. Nice. So these are changes just for today. All right. Death Knight, Hero Talents, Reaper's Mark. Damage increased by 30%. Okay. Blood, Exterminates. Okay. Frost. Oh, that was the... That was like one of their new ones on the tree, right? That just made it so when you're, I mean, pressing Howling Blast ever, basically, because you only press it with Rhyme. By 60%, I guess that talent was just too good. I mean, it did seem like kind of insane value. It was on the AoE side of the tree, though, if I remember, which was kind of interesting. Rider of the Apocalypse. This, Mossworn, Roost, okay, Mograin's Might has been updated. Frost. Breath of Cinder Ghost has been updated. Okay, so... what Breath of Sindragosa was before, like this most recent change, they made it like an empower spell, which obviously gave a lot of people some pause. Because they're like, you know, what is it? First empower ability, I believe, that isn't like a movement thing from Windwalker for any non-evoker class. And how that would play out. And I guess the feedback was we hate this after playing with it, but I guess I'll look at their dev note. Let's see. We've seen a lot of feedback around the recent change to make breath and empower spell. Some players liked the new direction. Many felt that the casting requirement made it difficult to use and broke up the flow. Okay, yeah, I didn't actually play with it, but that was one of my concerns, that like holding the empower for any reason would just feel really bad. We're moving towards a version that feels more natural to play without losing the impact the ability is known for. I will say, though, absolutely loved the direction of the empower, though. Like, it might have felt shitty to play, and it might have been the right decision. I did not try it, so I have no opinion, right? It might have, you guys, whoever gave this feedback, I'm sure you were right, where, like, it just felt bad. But the idea, that was, like, the perfect, in my opinion, that was the perfect implementation of an empower thing. Like, on most bosses you would do in raids, you would use a different empower of breath in a different scenario, I think, pretty often. And I think it is super ideal. I think that's a version of empower feeling really cool. But it seems like the time it takes to channel that empower alone didn't make up for that. Anyways, let's see what this looks like. Call upon Shindragosa's aid in battle for 8 seconds. Continuously dealing frost damage every 1 second to enemies in a cone in front of you. Consuming Killing Machine or Rhyme increases the duration by 1 second. Okay, so the whole extending breath or keeping it alive thing, it used to be a permanent, like, basically a channel on you. And if you ran out of runic power, it went away. But now they're making it, you can still extend it, but it's by consuming things you want to be pressing anyway. So it's going to make your pillar window feel pretty good. It's also going to work really well with the obliteration talent, right? Does that still work the way I think it does? Okay, deals reduced damage to secondary targets. Do we know what's breath currently capped at? Is it an 8? Okay, so 8 target cap, which I think is fine. Like, people talk about target capping a lot. I think the issue with target capping is that there are some classes that are uncapped, and then another issue is that there are classes that have 5. But honestly, if like almost everyone in the game, most classes and really good classes have a lot of things or everything capped at 8, and I think 8 is fine. Like, if everything was capped at 8, I think we'd be chilling. Grants a charge of Empower Rune Weapon at the start and 2 runes at the end. 1.5 minute cooldown, cost 60 runic power. I don't really know how to feel about this. Yeah. Man, I really wish I would have tried it on PTR with the Empower to feel if it actually was bad. Because, like, I mean, really, if you think about what I liked about Breath of Sindragosa, when I, like if I'm going to remember the time I've had the most fun in WoW, it probably isn't playing DK, but there is a version of DK that's way up there, and it always involves playing Breath. Because there's just something about the intensity of, like, fighting your runic power bar. And I know a lot of you hate that. I know a lot of you hate it. I get it, and I know why. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I fucking loved it. But now it's like you press a button. It's like a 2-minute cooldown or a 1.5 minute cooldown. Which I'm not really sure exactly how that lines up. I guess if you're playing 45-second pillar or like 45-second rotation, which used to be a minute and 15. I don't know if they fixed that in the new talent build. Maybe it'll rotate pretty well like every other thing. But then, like, it's not changing your class at all, right? Like, if you think about it, if you're in your pillar, isn't consuming Killing Machine and Rhyme what you already want to do every global anyway, unless you're about to cap runic power? So, like, this doesn't change anything. It just means, like, every other pillar you're going to have, like, an 8-second window where you do a bit more damage. So it just becomes like a cooldown, but it rewards you if you play well. I mean, pressing Killing Machine and Rhyme when they light up, this shit's boring. I mean, I get it. Frosty K has kind of always had this balance or this battle between, like, this large group of people that wants nothing to do with breath and they just want to play, like, two-handed blit. Yeah, that's sad. Honestly, that might, like, kill Frosty K for me. Maybe, hopefully this was fun. But I was actually really looking forward to the Empower version. Man, yeah, actually, dude, I was expecting. Dude, people when I logged on my stream were saying the breath change is such an exact words, an intergalactic W. I mean, I certainly don't speak for all DKs. I only feel comfortable really speaking for me. This just sounds like the Frost DK lost a bit of its identity for me, and probably won't be something I play. But hopefully not. Hopefully it's really fun and I want to play it. But yeah. Okay. Boring. Death Grip now has a 15-second cooldown outside of PvP combat. Massive W. So this is what we've been complaining about for a couple weeks. Like the main discourse has been like grip is not a raid buff. We want something not to be grip. We want a haste buff, whatever. In my opinion, they should still do that. Cool. Like I think it's weird to have to like always have to design for grip being relevant and having that in the back of your mind when like, bro, just throw it in there. Cool. But I think this was a bigger thing to solve than the raid buff. Like I'm positive that's true. And it's the exact same thing as shamans. Like if you wanted to argue shamans had a raid buff for years before they had Sky Fury, they did. But it was only for enhance. This would have been the exact same thing. Blood DKs going forward would have had a raid buff, but only for Blood DK because they were just twice as good as gripping at DPS DK. So this is a great change, and more importantly, if they gave them a raid buff like a haste buff, you would have just brought only blood, right? So that the raid buff wouldn't have solved that issue. This solves the major issue, which is now that if they're going to design things for Death Knights, you can bring either, which before the hand that was not the case. And this is also just a great change for DK DPS in general, like grip not being super long. DK tanks still have mass grip. It'll kind of yet to be seen whether mass grip in the future becomes the thing you really need and it's not single grips. They have deliberately stated that is not what they want to have happen, and that is not their design goal. They specifically even mentioned certain ads that have spawned in previous raids that because A-Bomb's Limb existed, they just couldn't be gripped at all because of that. But now in the scenario where A-Bomb's Limb is gone, which it is now, you would be able to single grip those, and it would be more about single grips. That's yet to be seen if that's actually how it ends up playing out. I think it sounds pretty easy to actually make that design like not hard to do, and in my opinion, I guess I'll speak on this because last week I know at least there was a clip of me that went out saying like there is no DK DPS raid buff, like you're just gonna play blood DKs, and I gave a bunch of examples why. This solves a ton of that. Straight up. Like if you're going into a raid, because like it's not just like, oh, well, if you need grips, you're just going to bring the raid buff from a tank. Now it's a lot more nuanced. Now, before it was just bring a blood DK. Now it is, okay, how much raid DPS do you gain bringing a blood DK versus someone else? If blood DK is losing to another, let's say, I'm just making this the fuck up, by the way. Let's say prop warrior or prop paladin does like 300k more DPS than blood DK, single target, which is what you mostly care about in raid, right? And Frost DK or Unholy DK or whatever, the best of those two classes, they only do 150k less than the ideal class, which makes you not want to bring them. But if you actually consider the like two swap, like you're swapping out a blood DK to bring in a DPS, you could actually gain raid damage by bringing a DPS class that isn't the best, right? A lot of people don't look at that, but that's an important thing at this level. Before, you would have just taken the hit and played blood DK because they were so much better, but this is a much bigger deal in my opinion than mass grip not being there. Now, if they made a fight again like Brood Twister, where you're constantly mass gripping ads and that was like extremely necessary, then that's a thing. Not to mention that like Venice DHs can also mass grip, which is another angle here, which is kind of interesting because they have their own raid buff as well. But that's a great change. And here's the interesting thing. I was saying this is the exact change they should do for like 2 weeks, but I didn't even know if they could do it. because like PvP talents are a way for them to add things in PvP, but there's no PvE talents, so there isn't really a way to make things not work in PvP. And I was questioning whether they've even done it in the past, or there's been anything where they've said basically this line: hey, we're making a change to this class, but in PvP it just doesn't work. Because I think everyone kind of assumed, which this like almost confirms that Death Grip not being 15 seconds is exclusively because in PvP that would like break the game. And I totally understand that. That would probably be psycho, right? But I didn't know they could do this. Nice to know now that they actually can. Anytime I'm running into the question of, oh, well, the reason they won't change that on this class, where this change is so obvious for PvE, but in PvP, like the reason this can't happen is because of PvP. They can just make this not happen. What was the last time I was thinking of that? Oh, it was this. It was when the talent trees got announced for last expansion. You were looking at every single class getting like most healer classes getting access to a kick, and more defensives, and priest and all of those things were like in their class tree. And then priest randomly was like, oh, okay, well, healer priest is the only healer that doesn't get a kick, and also the only one that isn't gaining a defensive. It's like, why is dispersion not in the class tree? Why is it in the DPS's class tree? That's not true for any other spec, right? Except for Havoc. And the answer was, RMP is already a thing, and if you gave healer priest a fucking... if you gave healer priest dispersion and silence, that can't happen. So, like, in my opinion, PvE priests were hung out to dry because of some PvP shit, right? Which sucks, right? The other way around, it can be fixed. If there's, like, a specific PvP issue, you can actually add things in a PvP talent. There are no PvE talents. There are universal talents between both of them, right? So, seeing this line is nice, because I'm going to use that. I'm going to reference this in the future when there are things wrong with classes and you feel like they can't change because of PvP. Well, they can. They just have to do it, and they can do it. So, okay, I'm going to what is it? Shadow is still fucked for its kick in the spec tree. Yeah, but that's why this exists, by the way. Like what I'm saying, right? Like the reason that you, as Shadow Priest, still have dispersion and silence in your spec tree, just to be 100% clear, is because your other two specs are healers in a very popular PvP comp, and they could not, when these came out, were not going to give access to either of these buttons for them because of PvP. That is that. I mean, I can't say it's a fact because I don't know that for an absolute fact, but it seems like a fact. It's the only healer that didn't get those things, and you're I think the only remaining spec in the game that has these buttons in your spec tree, and it's because of PvP, right? Okay. Here we go. Double glacial advances from consuming 2 stacks of killing machine with killing streak now properly deals double damage. Cool. Issue with frostbane non-activated rise been resolved. Okay. Issues. Cool. Unholy. Desecrate has been updated. Not familiar with what Desecrate is. Is that one of the newer talents they added? I don't even know what Desecrate is, so I'll probably just skip this. W. Okay. It's the new D&D. Cool. Death and decay damage being increased by 100%. Doesn't affect file. Bursting swords increased by 15%. Bursting swords now damages up to 7 nearby targets. Okay. Used to be... I actually don't know exactly its target count before. Similar to like Epidemic. I know Epidemic was weird, right? Like Epidemic's main burst could only hit 8, but the like cleave of it could damage up to 20. I believe. Was Bursting Swords similar to that? Like basically you were capped on how many Bursting Swords you could pop because like you're in a D&D with your Scourge Strike. Your Scourge Strike only cleaved. I think it was like 5 targets, maybe 6 or something like that, right? So now it used to be it's the other way for Epidemic. Oh, okay, cool. So Max, it was square root scaling after 8, but it's hard capped now. Wait, Bursting Swords used to be square rooted after 8, and now it's hard capped? That doesn't seem right. Why would they do that? I feel like hard capping anything is stupid. Like it should always... Square root scaling is just like, if you're going to choose between the two, is just objectively better. That doesn't sound good. That being said, though, okay, it being hard capped and not square root scaling after is weird. But let's just say this was square root. I know if you're an Unholy DK, and a lot of you are playing it right now because it's meta Mythic Plus, and it's just a really popular spec in general, you're probably thinking, well, this makes me worse. This is bad. Mythic Plus classes can sometimes be defined by how untarget capped they are in some way. And now I'm becoming target capped, so that means I'm less likely to be good. And you feel bad, and your opinions and emotions are valid. I get it. That being said, there's a big target cap issue in the game right now, and I know that some people's solution to that is like uncap everything. And that, while I don't even think that would actually be the best solution to the problem, that is never going to happen. I think the best you can hope for is, like, it's kind of similar to the argument of people say, and this is a terrible argument, but they're like, don't ever nerf anything. Just buff everything else to be as good as the best thing. But it's like, okay, if one class is super overpowered and 38 other specs need to get buffed versus nerfing the one overpowered thing, like, hopefully all of you can understand the correct decision is actually to just nerf the one overpowered thing so it doesn't take infinitely more time, right? As well as the potential to fuck a million other things up. You're just adding variables, right? There's actually not that many classes that have super broken uncapped AoE right now. It's actually very few. So if your concern is, man, oh, we're one of the few uncapped classes and we lost it, you're totally right for feeling shitty about that. And I don't like that this is hard capped, not square root, but I think Blizzard's best line of thinking here is to actually like target the uncapped classes and like bring them to 8. Like, for me, if I'm playing a DPS class, the only time I feel like absolute shit in Mythic Plus is if I'm a class that's capped at 5. Like, dude, like Windwalker getting capped at 5 this season, like, that felt like absolute shit. You were just like, your damage was fucking amazing on 5 targets, and when it went above 5, you just felt like shit. Classes that have 8 are really competitive all the time. Because, like, almost even uncapped classes, most things is capped around 8, right? All I'm saying is, not good for you individually, but if they were to, in quick succession, and I don't think they're going to do this, target the other super uncapped stuff, I think that would be a lot closer to balance than trying to expect them to increase the target caps of all the stuff that's lower, right? Basically, here's my take. I don't know how bad Mythic Plus balance is, and I don't think this affects raid at all, to basically just cap like almost everything that AoE is at 8. Because I understand there's some interesting nuance, and they don't want to homogenize the game. And I know their goal with the target cap changes and stuff a couple expansions ago was to make it so certain classes like that were capped at 3, that they just excelled at 3. Like, yeah, I'm capped at 3, but bro, if we're fighting 3 targets, I'm going to beat everyone that has a higher cap than me. If we're fighting 5 targets as a Windwalker, I'm going to beat uncapped classes at 5 every time. And it would be by enough to make it worth it that I can't do more than this, right? That was their goal. And honestly, a world where that actually worked is kind of cool. I mean, at least as a strategist, making comps for stuff like that is really, really interesting. And also they can create dungeons differently where some are big pulls and some are smaller, like a Theater of Pain. And the comp is literally different. Like, the meta comp isn't the same across all 8 dungeons. It is like the actual meta changes because of what classes are capable of and what the dungeons are requiring from you. I think that's really cool. Problem is, none of that ever worked, right? So no, big problem right away is that just has never happened. And it sounds, with how many variables are in this game, it just sounds impossible to actually do. So that would be one form of homogenization I would be a fan of, is actually just homogenizing the cap of AoE in this game. People still AoE differently. Not everyone AoE is the same, right? People do their AoE in different ways that can make your class feel different. But I feel like the target cap thing has been negative. Okay. Anything else here? I want to play Unholy on the PTR once it looks more complete. Always had a lot of opinions on Unholy. Any other cool changes? Okay, they nerfed Prez. Oh, wait, let's see. Yeah, nerfed Prez 2-piece and made the 4-piece bigger radius. Anyways, Dev, all damage dealt increased by 3%. Liberation of Undermine 2-step bonus has been updated. Nerf their old tier. What's the lore here? Were people going to use the old tier instead of the new tier or something? Why do all the Evoker tier sets always need nerfs post-season? Well, this one's super interesting because if you remember, going into this season, Evokers did... Sorry, did they do all of progression with the old tier? One second. Let me find this. I want to say our Evokers were killing, like, world first raid bosses with tier from season 1. Let me check, though. Let me look at, like, yeah, like, Mythic, Sprocken lot kill. Do we have an Evoker on this guy? Let's see. Okay. Can you see what gear they're wearing? Oh, that is new tier, isn't it? Okay, maybe I made that the fuck up. You switched it around Bandit for Evoker tier? That is the new one, right? Yeah. Okay. So it looks like two-piece was going to be sick, so they nerfed the fuck out of the two-piece. And nerf the 4-piece as well, just to make sure. I mean, you can say, like, yeah, they're always buffing or, like, having to nerf their tier. I think this time specifically, they had to buff it by so much to be usable mid-patch that it makes sense that they're having to nerf it after. I really don't understand why this wasn't fixed before. Like, we were very vocal with them about dev. Like, we were very, very vocal about dev. We were like, they will not, like, for weeks leading up to the tier, they were not going to use their tier. Their tier needs to be changed. Our Evokers are not going to be equipping tier in the race world first. They never changed it. Right? So they knew. They just didn't do it. Maybe they're really busy, but yeah, I mean, this is a good thing, right? Like, regardless of any change you read, if it reads you are now not going to have to, if you're a new player in the season, you're not going to have to go back and farm the old tier, or if you're a current player, like, I've done this before. Even if it's better damage-wise, having the access to equip multiple higher eye level, but you have to use an old item, like old tier set, and like 2 pieces are super low eye level, but it's technically an increase. You have less health. It just feels bad. It's just it's a very feels badman, you know. So them changing this is if the change is you are less likely to have to do that. In my opinion, that change is great. Withered Gem. Yeah. Preservation. All healing reduced by 4%. Dream Breath reduced. Reduce. Okay, nerfing Prez. Hunter hero talent changes. Some BM buffs. Mages. Nerfed Frostfire for Frost. Stampede changes are big. Let me read it. Where is that? Like in Pack Leader? Oh, there's a lot of stuff going on here. It can be challenging to maximize the positional requirements of Stampede when you don't know when it's coming. We're reducing its power while making it easier to use, a bit more forgiving, and giving you a clearer window of when it's going to be summoned. Wait, how the fuck did Stampede actually work before? Yeah, Stampede isn't going to fucking miss your target anymore, but it sounds like they're nerfing it too. That was happening? You guys were spawning Stampedes that were just missing the target? That's actually hilarious. Get out. If the new tier set is so dog shit, it's worse at higher eye level, how about they buff/change the bonus it gives instead? So that initial line of thinking certainly makes sense. Some issues, though, is that the new bonus is fine. It's just that its power is kind of located in its 2-piece. That's when, like, 2-piece comes into play. So you could say like, oh, we'll just make sure the power is in the 4-piece. But then like, I don't know, you can sometimes have that be a little bit different. Also, that's just more work, right? To have a functional tier set, but just shift, even though sometimes there's like a lot of moving parts, like shifting some of the power into the 4 set can also have other unintended changes or unintended effects. Or they feel like currently their power is good enough to where like if they have to buff their new tier, then like their damage can come from other places. Like honestly, that probably confuses them a lot. Like if your class has really sick tier, that can kind of be a good and a bad thing, because if it's really good, it kind of masks the underlying issues with your spec. And if you're like riding high on tier bonuses, but then like you ever run into a tier where your tier set stinks or it's average, then your class sucks and they have to kind of start from square one on like fixing what's wrong with your class mid-season. You never want to be in that position. Where if you have average or okay tier, they need to make you relevant and they're going to have a closer eye on what's actually going on with your class because of that, rather than just fixing it with tier. I know Windwalker had that issue over a long period of time. Okay. Anything else that's actually interesting? Because I might look at that scribe thing. Yerd? Single button assistant. How's that been going? I actually want to do a poll in chat, like no meme. I'm sure some of you guys will troll, but like, I want to know how many of you guys in your WoW playing, actually some of you aren't even playing this season. I need to ask this middle of next season. I'll ask it right now anyway. How many of you guys are using the one button tool all the time? Used it once to try it, or like, that ain't me. I'm doing a poll right now, chat. Make just use it on alts as an option. Never on my main, always for alts for fun. I mean, just looking at these poll numbers, I mean, that kind of makes sense. I never thought about that, actually. Like, you know your main really well, but like some people want to play an alt but don't care enough to like actually learn all the stuff on it to the level of your main. Dude, that's really interesting for me, because while I know this isn't going to be super relatable, because I've always looked at WoW as like a really competitive thing and I want to be the best at it possible, but even really early on, I've found that once you kind of get WoW, like you become 95% as good as you can be at a spec. There's a lot in that last 5%, but I believe a lot of people have actually achieved this. Like if they've only ever played one class, like in PvE, you can get about like 95, 90% there. Or I felt like I got there, like back in MOP, right? I feel like once you get to that point, if you have the passion to actually play another class well, I find it really easy. Like, especially within the same role. Like, it's like once you just get it, you know? Like, you can keybind a bunch of shit to similar thinking. Like, tanks is like insanely easy, dude. Like, you just bind shield block and shield of vengeance and iron fur. You can bind those all with the same button, you know. You can bind ignore pain and frenzied regen, like resource spenders that heal or absorb you. Like there's just, you know, or melee. Melee is like so fucking similar, you know. But also why this isn't really, because I bet some people don't care, you know. Max, I just hope when the add-ons get fucked, they make sure the official options are just as good. So, yeah, I mean, they've kind of mentioned that, right? So, right now, Hikili still works, correct? They did not kill it? Just before I go on a little monologue here, I'm just, like, double-checking that's true, because I'm pretty sure that's true. Okay, so what they're doing, they're not implementing Blizzard's solution and being like, well, this better work, and then just killing the old shit. We actually don't even know at this point when they're going to eventually kill Hikili, or maybe ever, right? You don't. There's some things they stated they're going to get rid of, and they're adding things in game for them. But it is going to take absolute like years and years and years for this to be the case. Like the moment in time that we have all talked about, where it's like the add-ons like weak auras and shit in Raid literally don't work anymore, in my opinion, I would put money that does not happen within the next 3 years. Like, long time from now. So, like, them putting this stuff in the game, they're not expecting it to be better than those things or even comparable, if they're being honest, right away. But they can do it over a period of time, and whenever they decide to make that decision, they will be sufficient. And I think that makes sense. I think that should work. Because it is going to take a long time. It's like, for sure. The cooldown manager still sucks. Yeah, that's a big fail in my opinion, because the cooldown manager being like the best version of that would actually be so huge for the game. Like I genuinely believe if the cooldown manager was the best, if you were to go forward in time and the best the cooldown manager is ever going to be was just in the game right now or when it came out, I think people would not use like UI based add-ons that work with stuff like that. You know, like the best version of that, if that was in game and easy to configure and stuff, that would be so fucking goated, dude. It may not even happen right away, but the second a beta or alpha cycle comes out and add-ons don't work for a week and people have to use that cooldown manager, people are just going to stay on it if it's actually good, right? So it is crazy that one is bad. It also, that one doesn't seem, I'm going to sound really stupid here, but that one doesn't seem that hard to make. Yep, I did sound stupid. I thought that was going to happen, and then I did it anyway. Okay, yes, people will stop using weak auras if the baseline is good since it will cost less resources. Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, I didn't see us really going into an add-on thing there. Dude, shout out that first time chatter earlier. Shout out that first time chatter earlier that was just like, yo, people say BM Hunter's bad, but I'm always putting those dudes in the dirt on the damage meters, and then just left. That shit was fucking insane. All right. Okay. So here's one thing. So I haven't seen this, but apparently Scripe gave a bunch of thoughts about Echo, and he like went live and took a bunch of questions from viewers. I had someone in my channel tell me that they thought that me reacting to this would be kind of interesting. I browsed through this a little bit, and I read this. Healers are paid more than the rest of the roster in Echo. I have a lot of thoughts on that just in general. But then he said he said in parentheses, this backs up what Max said about Suri being paid an ungodly amount to swap. Dude, I don't know why I'm about to spend my time justifying against like the worst people you've ever met on Reddit, but like when I commented about Suri leaving, I was like, yeah, dude, shout out, like, you know, why did Suri leave? Well, I mean, he had a lot of friends in Echo. He has like time constraints, but also what was probably part of it is they offered him more than like what any of our players make to raid there. I said that because it's true. It would be insane for me to just lie about that when like Suri is just like alive and the internet and could just instantly be like, wouldn't it be so, I know all of these people, wouldn't it be so weird if I just fucking made that up? And then, and yeah, there's just a few people in Reddit. I don't know why I always focus these people out. And they were just like, yeah, dude, Max is just like fucking coping, bro. Like, dude, like, imagine how weird that would be. I see these people. I know these people. I raided with Suri for 5 years. Can you imagine if he just decided to go to Echo for any other reason and that wasn't true, and then I went live on stream and just made up the reason why he left, or a reason, that would be so weird. That would, like, that person would and should lose all respect for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that, I would never do that. Okay. So, I do kind of want to listen to this. Is it a YouTube video? Let's talk about raid roster talk for Manaforge Omega from Scripe 2 days ago. All right. Fuck it. And also someone in this Reddit thread said, let me see if I can find it. I really hope Max will yap about this and tell me how I should feel. I'm so pumped. And then 17 people upvoted it. So you and your 17 friends here, just know I'm here for you, man. That's what we're doing today.
happy with the roster recruits. That is something that.
Wait, so what is... Okay, so this is... He was in the middle of an interview. He's in the middle of an interview talking about Gallioc's raid difficulty, and then it looks like he fielded a question from chat. He doesn't have chat on screen. But...
Does make me happy. Yeah, I am. I'm quite happy with where we are at with the roster right now. We got some... I don't know if people know...
yeah, they picked up that Swedish guild,
about
right?
2 weeks ago, they already joined. Now I think exactly 2 weeks ago, like the decisions were made, but it was not announced.
Hey, we watched the Method video the other day, and Method lost all of their raiders. This is a totally different era in World of Warcraft, but this is a true fact. Method lost all of their players to Serenity, and they recruited an entire new guild, Rapid Eye Movement. The whole guild, plus like 2 officers and SCO. And they won in Trial of Valor and came in... Well, they lost in Nighthold, but... They were instantly competitive, right? With a massively new amount of people, but keeping... Actually, that's kind of crap. That would never happen. You would have no chance. I don't even know why I'm talking about this, because the scene has changed so much, but... Yeah, they picked up... How many people did they say?
Announced yet? I think exactly 2 weeks ago, like the decisions were made, but it was not announced yet. Oh, there we go. We got some primes as well. Easy clap, dude.
Let's get the primes going. No editing.
See, that my DMs are
W.
not leaking.
Thanks for the subs. Let's keep it moving. Chat, why don't you all fucking sub to me? Let's talk about that. All right, we'll talk about that after this.
Thank you for the prime Marceloric and Kush. Wait, memories of Kush. He's bad. We got these 3 new gentlemen into the raid. All hand-picked, recruited by me, guys. I was checking the logs of the top teams, and that's I got access.
Yo, thanks for the primes, everybody. Thanks for the primes. Thanks for the subs. Let's keep it going.
To, and I was actually like out of people. I was like, damn, like you just can't find people. And then I was like, wait, hold up,
bro. Charmy's forearms are fucking massive, dude. I bet that guy could lift up a car.
Even though the Legate guys joined Method, they just joined them, so they don't really have any big attachments. I could go and look at the Legate logs again, and initially I had looked at them a couple months ago, but I was only looking for a mage because Hopeful had just left, and we just needed a mage being OP, right? And Flex was also injured, and now actually Flex also, if you guys don't know, he is on a break. He might play next year, but it's not guaranteed. And
okay, I want to stop right there. So he said something there where I looked at their roster, but I looked at some players, but I was really only looking for a mage. So I think that's like a little bit of difference in our recruiting philosophy. Now, I majorly do not do recruitment anymore. A lot of that has been Scott for years, and Boomy's involved with it a lot. Bubba's involved with it a lot. But I've always been really interested, like if a guild were to die, so Legate, I think they died is what he said. Like if that guild dies and I'm looking at like their players, I'm less interested in getting a perfect role fit for exactly what class and spec my guild needs. And I'm more interested in getting who I talk, like if I were to poll their raiders and I would ask them like, yo, who fucking owns from your guild? And they all say like, yo, this dude's the GOAT. I don't give a fuck what that dude plays. I want to recruit that person, right? I care a lot more about, because I really think like the people that make an impact, our guilds, the skill level at these 2 guilds is so fucking crazy high at a base level that like you could maybe find people that fit into that. But what really wins you races is how many people do you have that are that dude? You know? Like, I'm just going to make up a number. Like, how many of people in your raid comp are like that? Let's just make up a number and say we have, like, 7 of those dudes. And maybe they have 7. I've never raided in that guild. I couldn't tell you who's built like that. But, like, the more amount of those people at this, now that I'm realizing it, like, are really what's winning you races, right? And you're way more likely to get one of those. Like, I would hate to not recruit someone who's built like that because I'm currently looking for a mage. And, they have this player who's fucking insane. But bro, I'll take any player that is actually built like that, and no matter what they play, and we'll make it work, because the amount of people that are that good in this game are so few that you would do whatever you can do to get them. So that's just one thing I find interesting, is that like it seems like they recruit more off of need of class. And we do as well, right? Like if you lose a certain class, you need coverage, you would rather get. So we did this recently where we recruited people basically because of what they played. This happens, but like when a guild dies, and maybe they did this too, right? But maybe this guy is that. Maybe he's built crazy. But I'm more interested in the super crazy gamers.
I don't know. Maybe he's just an analyst type of person. I don't know. He'll do what he can. So I had not looked at the other guys, but now I did again 2 weeks ago. After
the other guys left, yeah. That's another thing that you mentioned, yeah, is like they also have just more roster space, right? They had 5 more people in the guild the first time you looked.
We got these 3 new gentlemen. I am very hyped to see all of them in action. And just so you know, Shamili, as his name says, he plays a shaman. Has other class outs as well, but I think he's pretty locked in on shaman, giving our.
Yeah, I mean, this is okay. So this, there was maybe even the reason he's getting these questions, at least some of the ones that they talked about in this Reddit thing where they summarized it, where like I had a stream where I talked about it, but then like my clip editor made a clip of me talking about like the Echo losing player situation, which thank God he did that, so I don't have to keep answering that in stream. But a lot of questions came up about that, and one thing I mentioned was, how do you know how much Echo is hurt by this? Because you don't know who's replacing them, right? It doesn't always happen, and usually experience really matters, and you need to do things over time and stuff, but like, what if 1 or 2 of these guys are like crazy? And maybe they're built like that, and they just lost a few players, but who knows if any of those players were built like that. And I promise you, none of you know unless you raid in that guild. There's a lot of people's names that have been doing this for a while that you know because they're streamers or because you follow this, and you just really don't know if people are built crazy style until you actually play with them. So maybe that happened. You don't know how much worse they're going to be because you don't know how good these people are.
We really needed a second shaman, since Clicksat left as well, and yeah, we just wanted to have like a locked-in shaman. Mini we want to have on DK if DK is good, not on shaman ideally.
Okay, he's giving some actual like insight into what people play. It's interesting.
Let's say next year, so we might.
He's always been a lot more open with stuff about that than I think I have, and I think I'm generally pretty open about that stuff. But like, I know one thing he's done is after tiers, he like goes on stream and like reviews everyone's performance from the guild, and I've always been like, bro, that's insane. Like, I could never do that. Like, I feel like we do all of this, and there's a lot of pressure on these players, and I'm not in the raid with them, and like I'm solving problems and shit. But like, I'm not about to go on here in front of thousands of people and create content out of their play. I just feel like that's a line being crossed in some way. And maybe that's stupid and that's not true, right? But like, he just fucking sends it. I think it might be an EU gap.
Then we have Charmy, who's a hunter. He is replacing Show basically. We didn't have a second hunter right now. We could obviously reroll Gingy to it, but then Mage is good. Why would we? We could have rerolled Spen to it, who's playing a Warlock, and we have 3 Warlocks.
Not following him? Guys, this is Scripes POV. We are reacting to a YouTube video right now. We are on youtube.com. This is not my following list, big dog.
Having a second like solid main hunter, and he also plays Shadow as an alt, even though it's a bit rusty from what I understand right now, but that's okay. Like he just didn't play it since some time, but he played in the past. That's good. Shadow and Hunter is good specs. They're like disjunct, as you would say.
That's a really good point.
In programming language, they don't share a lot of common.
That's a very
features.
good point.
Hunter with the high mobility, more like focused burst AoE perhaps. I mean, okay, I guess nowadays Shadow
in single target
AoE, but
versus the daughter.
Shadows like better on spread out targets and lower mobility. So
yeah, there's a good chance that in one raid you would want one rather than the other. This has actually been a big issue with this is true in our guild, and we have solved it through various different ways, but it was challenging. But a lot of guilds' moonkins and dev evokers are the same players, and then those people played Og. So then, like, you have this triangle of moonkins, devs, and Ogs. And if you ever wanted Ogs and then also Dev and Moonkin were good, basically every guild in the world, as far as I know, would be in a really weird spot because those are all the same people. And I don't really know what caused that specifically, but I find that to be very interesting.
It's a nice swap. Let's say if we need to have extra shadows, dropping the hunter for a shadow is good. And then lastly, Yoke, he was an officer as well. I think Shamili also at some point was an officer in Legate, but Yoke was a current officer, and he plays warrior. So that was a bit of a weird situation because we obviously have really good warriors. So Yoke will be playing.
He said that they recruited officers, and I'm wondering if that matters. Like, if I'm recruiting a player, we're thinking about recruiting a player, does the fact that they were an officer in their previous guild mean anything to me? I think so. I guess it means that they're committed. It means they're willing to put in extra time. But like, if you're doing this at this level, that is just so mandatory for everyone. Like, you would fall behind instantly if you weren't someone who's willing to do that. So I don't really know if that meant
Windwalker. That was his main alt.
Leadership skills. Yeah, but that's irrelevant, right? When you're recruiting someone most of the time, right? I guess like down the road they prove themselves, they become an officer or something like that. But that's when you're recruiting a player. Like, I just don't think that just doesn't really matter.
And he'll be maining Windwalker right now. And depending on the situation, maybe we play 3 warriors, or we'll have also our warriors focus on some other classes if necessary. If they play those, maybe Yoko goes back on warrior. We'll see. It's a perfect combo, hunter plus shadow piece. Yeah, that's what I thought, Stint. Exactly. Is it getting to a point that you have to offer a sign-on bonus for these top-tier raiders, or it hasn't went that far yet? You mean like a payment on entry of the guild? We did do that on maybe once, or maybe we contemplated it. I'm not sure.
This is really interesting. We've never done this, I don't think. Like, in sports, there's a salary you sign on. You like sign a contract to go raid for someone, or to go play for someone, and then there's a signing bonus that's a part of that. Like, I think there has been a little bit of a signing bonus in the past, and I'm talking ancient days before any of us ever had money from sponsors to pay anyone. Sometimes you would transfer someone's characters for them. This is like legit 10 years ago, but it was like, I remember recruiting someone, and part of our thing was that we would pay for their transfers, I think. That's kind of a signing bonus, isn't it? But that doesn't happen now. But also they make money now. You know what I'm saying?
We may have done that with a raider. I don't remember it, honestly. But to these guys, honestly, they didn't give too many fucks about the money. I'm not going to lie. They were more... They are getting paid more here than in Method. But they did not give a fuck about the money.
Wait, so these players were in Method, or Legate was going to join Method, or a lot of them were, and then they poached them from going to Method to go to Echo. So that's why the Method payments are relevant. Hopefully I'm following that. Or maybe they were already trialing in Method. Okay. Sure, Bud Kappa. All right, here's one thing. This is like what I was saying before. I 100% believe what he's saying is true, because like I don't know him super well, but I imagine he has enough like dignity and like could feel shame to where he wouldn't just openly lie about that. Like, if you're someone in Method that knows that what he's saying isn't true, it would be so fucking weird for him to make that up. You know what I'm saying? And I actually do believe them, right? So only 3 of those 11 players joined, and some of you guys are questioning whether, they actually don't care about the money. Like, yeah, maybe you'd go into an interview and you actually say that. Sure, maybe you care more about... There's definitely players who care more about winning than money. Also, think about who actually makes it to the level to raid at World First, right? Is it people that have had to, like, fucking grind through their life and, like go to school and college and work while getting better? To be honest with you, that's very rare. Usually who makes it to this level is people that have a pretty good way of living their life, and they either can live with their parents for a long period of time and their parents aren't kicking them out and telling them they need to go do some other shit, or and that oftentimes means they come from a decent place of money. They don't have to go get a job, right? I'm not saying like they're rich or their family's rich or whatever, but that whole philosophy is true. Like a lot of players you meet, the reason they got to this level is they have infinite time to play games, right? So is it likely that people wouldn't care about money more likely because of that rather than really needing money? Also super depends on what country you live in, right? You can live in a country with a worse economy, and how much you make from a job there is a lot actually closer to how much you can make in a Race to World First guild versus like America or something, or a more developed country. So I don't know what country. Oh, I guess they're from Sweden. Sweden's like pretty chill to live in as far as I could tell. Like it's actually really nice to live there. So I don't know if that really has any element to it, but just like another factor that can exist with other players. Yeah. So, and I totally believe that was the case. Like if there's someone who cares more about winning than making money, apparently they are making more money from Echo than they are in Method, which I believe because he said it. And I really believe in like that it would be so fucking weird to lie about that. So that's true. Right. And I believe that they truly care about winning, and they didn't just say that in an interview, because that kind of lines up with why you would leave Method to go here. Like, hopefully I'm not bursting any bubbles for you guys, but Echo has a significantly higher chance of winning the next Race to World First than Method does. Right? So if you're a player that can choose between the two and you're being poached from Echo, even if you're already in Method, and you care about winning, that's a choice you can make, you know? So, yeah, that is... that's cool. We're going to keep it moving.
Because Method did offer to keep them, basically, but they wanted to get to the guild with highest chance of World First. Because also both...
He said he wants to go. They want to go to the guild that has a higher chance of winning World First. Now, I just said before he said it that is true. They do have a higher chance of winning World First, but it does go extremely hard that he just ripped that shit just straight off the dome. And he's right, but, you know, there's a lot of people that would want to be really like, more like, what's the word I'm looking for? Dude, my brain ain't working. Diplomatic. There we go.
Okay, and Charmy have jobs. Shamili does part-time jobs. These guys have full-time jobs, guys.
Oh, really?
All right. Basically full-time, let's say, with more flexible hours. So.
Oh, yeah. I think that's more of a thing in EU. Like, when we do not have a lot of players who have full-time jobs, because at least if living in NA, having a full-time job and then being able to do what will be... So we would have had to take 2 weeks off for races now... let's say this next raid comes out in August. I believe 3 raids in a year, right? This is going to come out within a year of Nerebar Palace. I believe that's correct. In America, that you can't really do that. So you can't even come close to doing 6 weeks off in a year for most jobs, right? So yeah, that's an EU diff right there.
They don't give a fuck about money, PTL there. They just want to win. Which is something I really like.
Or you can do the tag strat, and what Tags was doing for a while was he would like join a new job, play there for like 1 tier. He would take time off. He was in tech, and he would take time off for the first raid he had with the job, and then for the second raid when he couldn't take job, he would quit and get a new job and just do that again.
Obviously, because I'm paying the money. No, that's not it. That's not just why, okay? It's not because it costs me less. No, it's... I do like people that have real jobs as well, honestly, more. Even though they have less time to commit...
I can see the vision.
...to the game
They're more
often.
Adult.
Like, I don't want to flame the people that don't have jobs, but...
Just before he says this, just for clarity, I actually can't speak for Echo, but I'm pretty sure this is most likely... I want to say 80 to 90% of Race World First Raiders do not have a job.
They tend to be more like disciplined and how do I word this nicely? No, I don't think I can, guys. I don't think I can.
I mean, I feel like... Okay, who is going to be more likely to be responsible? Someone who has stayed home their entire child and adult life and has played video games all day, or someone who has actually had to live by themselves, pay their bills, and work a job? It is like it's inarguably the second person, right? So it's not even controversial what he's saying at all.
Now, when I say real jobs, I mean like full time, like not necessarily full time, but yeah, I mean I guess real jobs where it's not just about gaming. It happened to turn into a job. It shows that they are like willing to make some sacrifices to advance in life, in a way. Whereas the gamers, most of them, they just want to advance in game. They don't
Bro, we're starting right at 10 a.m. Bro, I go to bed at 10 a.m.
give a fuck, but they just need money to survive, which is a problem. Like I want people to care about their life a bit more as well, because all of our raiders, they could work part-time without a problem. Sure, maybe during the race they would need to like
I asked what time Shaq woke up for a meeting last week before raid testing, and he said, I haven't gone to bed yet.
find a specific job that gives them time off, or they would need to like stop working for the time. But like you can still do things. There's a lot of jobs you can do, you know, like in a more flexible way. You could even work at Echo and like apply to some job and try some things. We had, for example, Frago do some things for Echo in the past. We have some officers doing some stuff like from the on the business side of Echo, you know.
Mm-hmm. Why did I just say that
You
as
could
if
do
we were in
OnlyFans,
conversation?
that's true. Our guys are quite handsome,
Fuck is...
though
I guess they don't look too bad.
I'm not sure if that's the best career path. They're more efficient with their time, so it's more limited. That's true as well, yeah. That's true. I mean, it definitely has its disadvantages as well, because, yeah, if they need to work more or something, you know, they also rely on that money, so they can't just say like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go full ham on the race."
Dude, by the way, I'm not even flaming this because this is like all of my content. But I guess like when I upload stuff to YouTube, I have someone edit it to be at least a little bit more like straight to the point. But I kind of respect just taking a Twitch VOD and just actually ripping it on YouTube and not giving a fuck.
But
you also don't have to pay an editor that way.
It's nice to have.
I would never think about doing that because I think Frank adds infinite
have some
to my
of them at
content.
least. I want to see where this goes, because it can go bad as well. I know sometimes people just, especially if they also have a family or, I don't know. Okay, I don't want to say this word. I will get flamed.
Huh?
Like me, for example, I have a family. I have a wife, kids. Right? Like you also get less time to put into the game, whereas if you have no other responsibilities, you can I'm trying to dance around
Yeah, but like that, I think that there's a level of that that's healthy and good though.
the word. You guys know what I mean, I think. But you can focus more time into the game, which can be a bonus, but at the same time you become a no-lifer, and that can be a negative as well. So I think it's more about how the person deals with it, honestly, rather than what the situation is. And I had a good feeling with these two guys. So then I could kind of trade the 3 players. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know if there were other players. No, we took more players from Method. Because, I mean, but in this last week's, yes. But before that, we also had the Verb.
I would want to see like the difference in their players. Like I want to see the movement between Method and Echo specifically over the last few years. Because there was like people who went back and forth. I find that really interesting.
Join. Let me check my art trials. It's actually just Krona, Yoko, Gapsuri, Arxis, Spencer. Oh, Spencer as well. Verb and Spencer also came from Method to us. So we got 5 players from Method.
Is Spen the only player to have been in Liquid, Echo, and Method? Oh no, Tobo. Tobo was in all 3, I believe, as well, right? Wasn't Tobo in Method very briefly? Oh, and now, yeah, and now. Okay, but the Spen lore is way more funny though because he was the He was the Go method guy. Like in Eternal Palace, we had someone steal a font of power in our run. They traded the guy who looted it. The guy thought he was a Liquid Raider, gave it to him. He said Go method in say chat, and then like took the item and left. And then a year later, he was in and then now he's been in method, Liquid, and Echo.
That in total,
That's actually
after this
crazy
race,
lore.
we have a lot of new trials though. Like this tier, we have the most amount of trials. I mean, they also got Andy, but yeah, like I said, I think previous stream, like we were planning to demote Andy, so he was.
Ooh. Yeah. See, now that's okay. So, well, I guess it makes sense. You have like public opinion of your guild being like, "Oh, you guys are losing a bunch of talent," but like if you come out and say, and again, I 100% believe he's right. I don't think he's making that up. I had heard something to that effect as well before that happened. But regardless, it just, again, like I know some people in chat are like question people's beliefs, and regardless of whether you trust me or trust him or anything like that, if you think about it, being him live on stream and he wasn't going to demote Andy, everyone liked Andy in the guild. He was a great player. They weren't going to demote him. You know what I'm saying? That all could have been true. I met Andy Brew at BlizzCon and he was a chill dude, but like him not going to demote him and just saying that, basically if you were to type Kappa to that, your thought is, oh, he's just saying that to save face for his guild. That would be so fucking weird that I just simply do not believe it could happen to that person. Like just imagine you're Andy and you're like, what? You know? Like you know if you're going to get demoted or not. Like if that, like that would be so fucking weird. So I believe that's true. That being said, we have had players picked up to other guilds in the race that we were not trying to keep. But I also definitely, when people ask me about it on stream, I'd be like, yeah, you know, like good luck in the new guild. I would never say like, well, we were going to demote them, because I just feel like that's kind of like, it doesn't end up mattering, and it's kind of like, who actually gains anything from this? Like, I guess you're just like, all you're doing is like slandering for this person. I guess maybe in a way you're saving some face for your guild. Like, hey guys, it's not really that bad we lost this player, because that turns out they fucking stink and we were going to get rid of them. Like a little bit like that. I don't know. I've had the opportunity to do that before, and I remember thinking like, it's kind of fucked up, even if it's correct, you know?
It worked fine, let's say. I'm glad that it worked out for him there. But in general, we were more aggressive with our roster changes as well, which kind of also triggered the Clicks leaving and Cushion Canix going with him, because we told, you know, I think I mentioned it last year, like Clicks was unhappy with a lot of things, and we told him that he needs to either be happy or he needs to go find a different guild type of thing. That is us being aggressive.
So Click's already unhappy with the yeah.
I think if he did not say anything, he probably would have just stayed in the guild and would have not enjoyed his life. So it was a good thing, let's say, for everyone, I think. What kind of things he was unhappy with? Honestly,
so Clicks was a mutual thing. I mean, yeah, if you have someone in your guild that's like super unhappy or is a bad vibes guy or something, even if they're good at the game, it can definitely be a positive for them to be gone. Now, them going to your opponent, which I don't really know how, and I can't speak for them, like how Echo views Method. Like, I imagine Echo ever losing to Method would be like completely tragic. Would that, I feel like Echo might, I hope I'm not speaking out of my ass. I feel like if that ever happened, I feel like Echo might actually die. But I also, I wouldn't bet money that happens, for example, unless Echo died, for what it's worth. But yeah, I don't know. They, let me hear this again.
A lot of good thing, let's say, for everyone, I think. What kind of things he was unhappy with? Honestly, a lot of things, man. A lot of things. We did something where we're paying healers more, and he wasn't happy with that, because healers were like really hard to find for us and a big problem. So now healers are getting more money than DPS players.
Wait,
like,
say that again?
Something where we're paying healers more, and he wasn't happy with that, because healers.
So Clicks wasn't happy with.
Were like really hard to find for us and a big problem. So now healers are getting more money than DPS players typically.
Yeah, that's interesting. So we don't do that. I don't know, like our pay structure of our guild is like there's a bunch of different levels. There's like first joining the guild. There's like veteran player. There's like best veteran player. Like for example, you could raid one tier in our guild and be someone we want in on every boss, and you put the time in and farm, and you'll make as much as anyone in the guild. You're at the highest tier. It's not something you have to earn over time. You can be that person right away, if you were that good, right? So not as much seniority, but it's like your value to the guild and also the time you put in. You have to put in a lot of effort outside the race. We have players that are like goated and we want them in on every boss, but their effort and farm isn't very high, and they know that. And we've talked to them in the past and be like, hey, dude, like we love you as a player, but like we have to dock your pay because like we can't be paying you as much as this person who's going to be playing just as much as you, and you just don't log in for like half of your raids. And you know, you like mailing it in farm, if that's the way you can like make sense of doing this, which it totally sucks, it makes sense, but also you're comparing that against people who are actively doing more to like help us in farm. So like there's all kinds of levels to that. So we have that, but we don't pay healers more. But I do see the reason. Like if you're Echo and you feel like, and I'm not saying this is true, but you're like, healing is such a concern for us. If we don't start winning races, we don't know how many more sponsors we can accrue. We have to win. Healing is the hardest role. Healers are by far the hardest thing to recruit for and to find people that are good enough at this level to do this. So we want to restructure our pay to where healers make more than the rest of our raid because of supply and demand. It's harder to find them. There's fewer of them available. It's a harder job. So we are going to invest more of our money to shore up that part of our guild. Now, is there logic to that, right? If you're doing like I said, we don't do that, but like, could I see us doing that in a similar situation? Maybe. I don't know, because like the thing is like you can try to make sure everything's fair and everyone's making the same amount, and if people are putting in the effort, they're getting paid the highest tier. But what happens when you don't get enough good healers and then you just lose and your guild dies and now no one makes any money, right? That's the threat. So I mean, it's pretty basic economics, right? But you can see the effect it can potentially have. Like, I'm not saying this is what caused the clicks thing. He's talking about clicks here, but he says, yeah, Clicks wasn't happy with like healer. I think that's what he's saying is like Clicks wasn't happy with healers making more than him, especially like a new healer like Suri just coming in right away and just making more than players who have been there for years. Could that be the best decision for your guild to not die and to compete at the highest level? Yes. But also there's going to be fallout from that. I mean, we talked about this the other day when we watched the Mythic video. Guys, when this is initially a passion thing, people do this because they love it. At some point, there is a line where it's like, yes, you can love it, but when you start adding money into this, it just gets fucking weird. It's so weird. There's still issues with it. But we were talking about when it was first getting introduced to the scene. It was infinitely worse, but like it's still just a thing, you know? So I totally can understand that.
So he was not happy with that. He was not happy with some like I don't actually remember all of it, but there were some things he was not happy. I remember after Firak, even though we won, he was not happy with, I don't remember what, but some like raid leading related stuff. He was not happy that I wasn't playing the game enough.
Wow.
Like I don't know, just he was not happy with some business stuff, I think, as well. I don't know. I remembered these things when we were talking to him, obviously, but honestly, after he left, I was like, it's fine. Like,
so not playing the game enough. That's something I think about a lot. When I first started doing the like rating from outside thing, I made it a point every patch to like still play a guy and stay up to date on the game because like things can change over time. I also thought it was important that new people who are joining this guild that haven't actually played with me, I want them to know that I can play the game.
You know, if I have to tell them something in progression that, you know, emotions are high. You're trying as hard as you can. Maybe you haven't eaten a lot. Maybe you're a little behind on sleep. You're a week into this thing. You just made a mistake in front of 50,000 people, and that's the first time you're dealing with this. And then now you have a raid leader that you've never actually played with trying to fix a problem. I'm not coming at you personally, but I'm trying to fix a problem, which involves acknowledging that you made a mistake. And that's really, really, you guys can think that's easy. That's really hard to do sometimes. And having a baseline level of respect there as much as possible is really important. So that's what I wanted to do. That being said, I haven't been super into the game in a while. Only like 2 of the last 3 raids I've like actually played and gotten cutting edge with a lot of the players in farm. But I also don't see a need to like really do that. I also think a lot of the respect that new players would have for me coming in is that I've done my job at this level for a long time with success now, and that could be the reason that you can respect what I'm trying to say to you, right? Rather than having actually played with me. Also, that's just based on passion. I only really play the game when I want to have fun. He's in my position too. I can promise you, once you move yourself out of the raid and you stop having to like gear up all these characters and stuff, and you love what you do, you like get super into this outside the raid thing, you just become a little detached from the game. I don't even know if it's possible to have that not happen. I'm also not around in farm as much. I have other people raid lead a lot of farm, mostly because I would just quit. Like, when I do this like 21st man thing in the race world first, I'm so stimulated. I love problem solving, and there are actually an infinite amount of problems to be solved at any point. And because I'm not worrying about playing a character, I can just fucking get to work on all of that. And it's fascinating. It's my favorite thing I do in my whole life. It's awesome. The problem with farm is that all of your worth and all of the fun that comes with that is gone. You've already solved every problem there is to solve. Most of the time, every now and then there's like nerfs, and you're now reducing a healer, and there's like new things, and those are kind of fun. But most of what makes you love doing this is completely gone. Just calling things out when they're about to happen is such a minor part of this at this level, and I can't stand it. It's like sitting here watching paint dry. Other than just hanging out with your friends, which is fun, which is why you love getting back into like testing and stuff. But I don't know if I'm Scripe. I mean, obviously biased. I'm in the same position he's in, right? But like at a certain point, it's hard to just play the game just to like do it, because it's just completely not fun. And really what motivates all of us at this level of doing this is having fun, you know?
This is for the best.
Are you not afraid of deteriorating your skill? Not really, because like if I ever get super into a game, I can get into it. Like right now, if I were to try to like raid, like a Race to World First came out, and like I was like, okay, I have to play now, and I haven't been playing for like 6 months, I'd be washed the fuck up, because how the fuck could you not be? Anyone would be after not playing for that amount of time. Like you'd be fucking horrible. You just haven't been doing what's necessary to be playing at this level in any game, you know? But I'm not in, so I don't care. I care about getting better at what I have to do. As far as like playing WoW in general, if I ever got super into the game and wanted to play Mythic Plus, this actually happened last expansion. You can like play like all the time for like 3 weeks, and it's like riding a bike, bro. You get like all that shit back. Like it usually takes for me like 3 weeks to a month to feel like I'm playing as good as I've ever played. But you're right, like is there any concern about like, yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're gonna be washed the fuck up if you're not actively playing the game, that's just no matter who you are, that's correct. So yeah, I guess I don't really worry about it, because that part isn't necessary for me being valuable to this guild, and that's the only thing I care about.
And the shit talk method so much. He didn't shit talk method to us, at least. I don't remember this.
Wait, who's he talking
and
about?
The shit talk method so much. He didn't shit talk method to us, at least. I don't remember this.
Clicks? I'm not sure.
What are we talking about? No, I was just mentioning that Clicks was unhappy at Echo.
I don't know if Clicks was one of the dudes that was always like slinging shit at our guild back in the day. Usually that's Gingy, one of their rogues, and that's like pretty much it.
Yeah.
I don't think it was Clicks. I think Clicks might have had like a nice burn on Goop one time. Like Goop might have like tweeted some dumb shit after a raid, and he like fucking body slammed him. I think that was Clicks.
It was mostly with like the management of Echo. It wasn't really with the players in Echo. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough problem, right? If you are not happy with the management, because you obviously make a lot of decisions, and it's very,
I mean, I honestly think that problem is irreversible. I think if you are a player that does not have trust in your leadership of the guild, and they're either making that known and they're, you know, kind of a problem because of that, I don't know if that problem is fixable, because how do you regain their trust? I guess you can just win. Like, even if they don't really trust, you're just winning, so I guess you can trust that whatever it is, it's working. I just don't even know how you ever turn that around, though, unless they become part of that process and see that you are trustworthy.
we're not gonna leave, so. And I mean, we also had a lot of things that we agreed upon, by the way. Like he understood a lot of things as well, but I just think he wasn't happy with the results. Like in the end, whatever it is, you know. Yeah, don't want to speak in his on his behalf too much. I mean, you can ask him if he streams why he left Echo. I mean, he also gets.
I mean, no one's gonna be like keep it all the way 100% a buck on live on stream, because you still have friends in that guild and you don't want to, you know,
more paid in Method. So that's also another reason, obviously. But what started the whole thing is that he was unhappy. I think if he was happy here, even if he got paid a little bit more, he wouldn't have left.
Yeah, like the idea of join. Okay, like if you're just to be clear, by the way, when you guys are hearing people joining other guild because you're making more money, you're talking about pretty much any time that is happening. You're talking about making a couple $100 more a month, by the way. No one in this scenario, no established member of any guild is going to another guild and increasing their monthly income by $1,000 a month, or maybe probably even half of that. So you have to think, why would someone actually leave? Like, yeah, okay, depending on your financial situation, a couple $100 more a month could really, really matter, especially depending on what country you live in. But the idea of doing that and leaving your friends, and in some cases potentially leaving your region, there's so much more that goes into that when someone leaves a guild, it's most likely due to a fundamental misunderstanding with the guild's like goals or vision, or just not wanting to be there anymore, and you're using the money as part of it. Like this, no one at this level would be good enough to do this if they were really money motivated as to like why they're doing this. It's actually just complete nonsense. Like, you have to just love this with every fiber of your being for a really long time until you're potentially good enough to do this. It's a requirement. So like the money is entirely extra. It's more, the reason anyone's leaving a guild more likely is to do with like life balance, right? Like one thing that's true is like Suri left to Echo, and it is true that he is making more in Echo than he would have made here. But he also had friends that were applying to Echo. He also is he's not like a normie, but he likes to like see sunlight. Rating NA hours from EU, especially if you have other obligations, when you constantly have to stay up super late and like you have to wake up for meetings and stuff, it's like it takes a toll on you. And you could join initially and win and do all that stuff, and that's okay, but eventually it'll really run its course. Like when Wolf Disco left our guild for Echo a while ago, he's back now, but like when he left, he was rating NA hours in a world first guild, having to have a ton of characters on this. He was doing EU MDI, and to prep for the EU MDI, he had to level characters on EU and play live keys. And then he had an EU schedule MDI practice on top of NA schedule raids. And on top of all of that, the last raid he raided in our guild before he left and then came back, he killed 0 mythic bosses. So at a certain point, you just got to ask yourself, like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, no amount of money or winning or any of that can make up for this situation just being shit for specifically that person. Right? So there's like for example, basically what I'm saying is like Suri leaving had more to do with him probably just wanting to be on an EU schedule or be in Echo instead of this guild than any amount of money. Right? That has to be true. I think that's probably true for most anyone that leaves these guilds. It is very unlikely to be a money thing.
Yeah, I think it is for the best though. I'm happy, honestly, not just for us, but also for Clicks. So I don't want any, like, I didn't want him to be sad, and now he's happier in Method. I'm happier in Echo. Everything is good, dude. It was a weirdly quite like adult way to part ways, let's say.
It's still so annoying though. Like, I know I had that YouTube video recently basically saying that, like, dude, I don't even know if this affects Echo at all. All these people are saying, like, Method's going to win the race or beat Echo. I'm basically just like, I just don't know where. Like, obviously they could win the race, but, like, the idea that beat Echo is, like, it's so unlikely. And people were putting a lot of stock into that exact action that happened. But, dude, if you are Echo, that discourse has to be so annoying to you. You know, like, he's probably not going to mention that, but, dude, going live and just being like, bro, Method's got it this tier, and people are actually serious about that, that's got to just boil your fucking blood. It'll boil my blood.
Was Timber Maw on your radar? I don't even know who Timber Maw is or what that is.
Dude, get fucking hooed. Oh, my God, Timber. He doesn't even know you, dog.
Is that a player?
Oh, my God. Is that even a player? Who are you, kid? You are nothing to me. He even started to look you up and then he gave up.
Ah.
Oh my God, bro. Who
Yeah,
are
I
you?
didn't hear about him once he joined Liquid. I didn't know.
Oh, bro. Your only value is that you're in this guild, by the way.
Was he from the US? I don't know.
Dude. Who is that?
Imagine not having drama in WoW guilds and acting like adults. Yeah, dude.
I mean, dude, having two guilds in the region that are both have goals for number one is always infinite drama, though. I don't think those guilds can ever get... You could run a simulation 1,000 times. Midwinter and Blood Legion and NNA, us and Midwinter, us and BDG. Even though those weren't like super close, you just actually can't get along. It's so volatile. You can even be cool. You can have dinner at BlizzCon or whatever and be like, our guilds get along now. And I've seen this happen so many times where all it takes is one person to tweet one thing or like a clip from someone's stream and they can say something so innocuous like, hey guys, I think we can actually win next year, which is what they should say, because you have to believe you can win if you're putting in this effort to actually fucking do this. You have to think that. There's nothing wrong with thinking that. And then you just see, and then that Twitch video just gets linked in the Raider channel of our Discord, and everyone's mad. Wait, you guys think you can fucking beat us? Fuck you. Already hate each other, right? It could be something that, it's usually worse than that, but like, it really can be that simple, and it's impossible to get along, you know? Max, are there any potential NA guilds to be a method to you guys? Nah, because I think basically anyone without too much stock in the WoW rating scene just knows at this point. Like, dude, the whole era of people buying like WoW guilds trying to compete, Lazarus Imperative, BDG being picked up by Golden Guardians, like there was an era where like Complexity, this is actually what caused it. Complexity picked us up before Nyalotha, and then we instantly won the race world first and our viewership blew up from that. And so naturally, other orgs that don't know a ton about WoW are like, wait a second, you're telling me they picked up this fucking WoW guild and now this is their viewership every tier and like multiple times a year? Like, okay, are there any other WoW guilds we can give resources to see if they can compete? We've already gone through that. And what the reality was basically there hasn't ever been proof in the streaming Race World First era that you can have 3 competitive guilds all at one time. That's what viewers really want. You guys talk about the 3-horse race all the time. The reality is it's been like 6 years and there's never been an example of that being the case. So orgs are not going to invest money into it, right? So because of that, that's not going to happen in NA. We're not going to have someone like Method is to Echo. The reason Method exists is because SCO won't let it die. Like, we literally watched a video about that the other day. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they died after Serenity split. And then it's like, this is my life vision. I've had this guild since 2005. I will not let it die. The fucking Josh thing happens. He will not let it die. Even with, it could potentially never, they could never win potentially, but he will still, I mean, he'll probably go broke before he gives up on that, right? There's just no one in NA who owns a guild that cares that much about that with that kind of history, right? It's a unique thing to Method, because I think everyone else realizes that it's extremely unlikely for that to change, right? And that kind of works for Method because you have the underdog rooters. People really want Method to succeed, not only as an underdog story, but a comeback story. And
a potential 3-horse race, and all of those things, right? Uh, W. All right, continuing on.
That's kind of weird, right? I feel like we should have like.
Yo, Max, will you make all your past VODs free to all, or you keep it sub only? Bro, I got the best news for you ever, big dog. I have VODs on YouTube every single day for free. Blew your mind right there.
Yelled at each other or something. Now I should like now shit talk him on stream like that fucking loser, man.
Oh,
He
who's
just
the
didn't
loser?
get it.
Yeah, fuck you. Who is that?
Do you think a method in the next race will be closer to race Echo and Liquid?
Oh, here we go. Here we go. 1 second. I gotta.
I don't know. I don't think much will change from just those 3 players, but I think we're stronger than we were just because of the healer change. Because like the healer thing was big for us. But yeah, I don't know how much.
It's really hard to answer this question. Because, like, if you ever do lose to them, you don't want a clip of you saying, like, bro, ain't no fucking way. But, I mean, I think he's telling the truth in that, at least from my perspective, the logical thing is I don't think this swings the needle of Method versus Echo, in my opinion, at all. But if any, it's very minimal. But, like, the public doesn't think that, right? So how do you respond to this without sounding like you don't respect your competition while also being honest? You know?
Method will improve. But
yeah, I mean Method will. Method is gaining. I actually don't know how good those players are. They've rated an Echo for a long time and they have experience, but again, the levels of skill at this level, you just simply don't know until you play with them. They could be transcendent, amazing players, or they could just be someone who's in the raid. I just don't know. But I mean, Method has to get better, right? Which would at least swing the needle a little bit. But the thing is what defines this is the core of what makes Echo Echo, which is not gone.
Yeah, like I don't think they're getting more first, and our goals were first. But you know, anything can happen. It's a race were first. Crazy things happen sometimes. So,
the problem is you put the crazy things happen sometimes after it, so the clip has already happened, and the people won't watch that.
Boys, we got the proc.
Unfortunate.
Another black tea this time, sponsored by the wife.
Another black tea? Are you fucking? Is that a shot? Is that no? That
White.
that.
Also, we got the proc.
Yeah, that's not a. That's a enormous shot,
Another
and
black
it's
tea
and
this
it's daytime.
I'm sponsored by
Come
the
on.
wife. Let's go.
I don't know how they do it in Turkey. Turkey? He's Turkish, right? Does he live in Turkey? I don't know.
Should avoid leak shitting on each other through our experience way. It did look like there was a healer gap on Maxi.
Tiny bit of max slight incoming. Oh shit! Am I gonna get mad? All right, here we go. I'm ready to get mad. What's the message?
It did look like there was a healer gap on Maxi.
It looked like there was a healer gap on Muggsy.
Yeah, it wasn't just Maxi, guys. It's the last year, honestly, like it was just really shit for us. I mean, we lost 3 healers throughout the last few years. First we lost wait, who was the 3? I mean, in fact, we lost 4 technically, if you count Wooby as well. But Wooby was like a half-cooked healer. It was his first year and he immediately raced for first rating. I think he could have been good, but he just quit quite early. We lost Potter as well, but Potter like comes and goes, you know, as an outside support. So we lost Potter since a long time ago. I wouldn't count him anymore at this point. I mean, Scar, Zalia, and then there was one more person. What the fuck? Who am I forgetting? Oh, Thanner. Yeah.
Yeah, so Thanner, Scaris, and Zalia, 3 people who have years and years of Race World first experience. Yeah, I mean, that's... You can't like, is it possible to recruit someone who's as good as someone who has multiple years of experience? Yes, it's just like there's like less than 5 people like that who play this game, and the best part is you don't know who they are because like logs are impossible. So it's like
You just hope you get someone, and most people need the healing in the race is such a specific task that you just need to be doing it for so long. I mean, throughput is one thing, but it's like how quickly you figure out why healing is so important is this is done on every player's level. Like if you're a warlock, THD is obsessed with problem solving. He is really, really good at figuring out how to be the best whatever spec of warlock he's playing really quickly in progression, and everyone playing like that allows you to progress further. But healers, the quicker they acknowledge how they're supposed to heal this fight properly, regardless of throughput, means that everyone sees farther in the fight. And the further you get in the fight every pull, the more consistent everyone's learning, rather than only being in P2 for like 2 times an hour or something, right? If healing can affect that at all. Like healing, having good healing just like lets you get more consistent progression because you just see farther constantly and you see farther earlier. And healing just affects that individually more than any other role or class in Raid. That's why it's so important. And it's really, really hard to do that. Especially because as a lot of healing it's so specific that people are really good at one class of it. There's a lot more healer one tricks. Like you'll see them multi-class because they have to, because sometimes the healer's really OP, but like if you're playing an alt, you're just going to be 20% worse at what I just said. You know, it's just what it is. So like it can almost just be random of like how many mains or like main ready healers are your healers playing going into a tier, and that can just be based on tuning. You know, Doggo's dreaming. I mean, yeah, she's a dog. She does that.
Yeah, first we lost Scarus, then we lost Zelia, then we lost Tanner on top, I think, in that order. And yeah, like it snuck up on us slowly, this problem. And
I mean, that's the worst problem to have. Like, I think this is probably true. If any guild loses 3 main healers going into a tier, they are going to lose. Like it's not exactly like, is there like 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 that isn't true, but like it is really that, because there's so much like not only the player skill and the experience, but like there's so much cohesiveness within the healers. You know, like when you're just raiding any random guild, you just try to get your healing out whenever you can, and you snipe and you do all that. Like you just have to really learn how to play as a unit, and then you could have that entirely figured out playing Holy Paladin, Disc Priest, Resto Druid, and Shaman, and then the next tier you're playing 2 Prez Evokers and a No More Holy Paladin, a Mistweaver Monk, and a Priest, and like now your spot healing is totally different, and now your spot healing is actually a different person. And then like the flow of everything is just off. It's just so specific, right? I don't know. It's really, really weird.
Yeah, I mean, we were aware of it. We tried to prevent it, but going into the tier with 2 healer trials, I mean, we weren't happy with it, let's say, and then damn, bro, the fights really tested our healers, yeah. Especially Max Z, but even before that, like on Sprocket, we would have killed this boss so much sooner if we had better healers. Not from the healing, just
actually, I also feel like I feel like Sprocket, we actually got healer griefed as well. Like I think that was we either like didn't set up that boss well for our healers to succeed, like we had them doing bad mines at a different time, but like our 2 not first deaths, but like basically deaths that cause a wipe, there were 2 healers that were like way ahead of anyone else in the raid. And so that means we either made the strat was bad for them to succeed because they had too hard of a job and we didn't make it easy enough for them as much as we could, or it was just a really hard boss for healers, right? So yeah, and if your healers die ever, especially your ramp healers, you're just absolutely cooked on that fight.
Oh,
not following Yummy TV, guys. This is not my Twitter.
Don't want to like shit talk people, you know. It's enough. But yeah, it was a big problem for us. So with Suri coming in, I am hopeful that it's gonna be better. I get bin instantly. RT like agreed himself that this wasn't really like something for him. He also, from what I mean, I don't know if he didn't enjoy certain things so much anymore because he was not performing good, or if he was just not enjoying it and that's why he was performing bad. I'm not sure. But I mean, being honest, you could tell that from farm and PTR already that it was a bit shaky, and yeah, it proved to be shaky as well during the race. So let's say he knew his fate already during progress, which is obvious.
How many healers do they have this tier that are returning from last tier? Like Suri is new. And I don't know if they carry 5 or 6 healers. Basically, like, he's saying they were unhappy with their healing last year. Are their healers just the same minus one of them, and then Suri instead of the one of them? Okay.
Nice.
So, I mean, they must be pretty happy with some of their healers. Like, he's basically saying, our healers were an issue last year, but it wasn't because of their player skill. It was because of their lack of experience. Because they didn't replace any of them except for one with Suri. And he mentioned, like, the 3 new healers or whatever. So it seems like they must like their healers.
Nice. Which guild did Artie come from? I don't know.
Or like, the terminal scenario is you don't like a couple of them, but recruiting healers is actually so hard that even though you're not happy with them, you just can't find anything that's just the best you can get.
I know he was potentially going to go to Fat Shark, yes, but didn't happen. I don't know if he came from Fat Shark, yes. I don't think so. He was from a lower end guild. What was Hank? Hank was alright, but also a bit shaky for sure. But we saw...
But Hank is still in the guild though, right? So he's just saying that Hank just needs experience.
Okay, there was different problems with Hank than with Artie. Artie had problems with the mechanics, whereas Hank was playing the mechanics so much. He was playing very PMA. This is something that Phil used to do on the mage back then, if you remember Phil. Really wanted to play the mechanic, and while doing that, they would sacrifice their rotation for it. And especially as a healer.
Oh, that's really
Muggsy,
interesting. That's so interesting. You talk about this in lower level guilds all the time, where it's like, would you rather have a player that's like fully focused on throughput, or would you rather have a mechanic lord that sacrifices throughput for mechanics? And usually at a lower guild level, you want the mechanic guy because you're not barred by throughput. But at the race world first level, there's just a certain amount of throughput that you need to even do this. And the reality is you just need both, right? But you usually don't run into someone that does one and not the other. That's really interesting. I wonder how you'd solve that.
If your focus is to...
Because that's just like how they've learned to play the game.
To soak mines that blow up, or like get into the rocket, so make sure everyone soaks it, including you, instead of doing the most healing you can do. The raid feels that, and it hurts quite a bit.
Yeah.
So that it would be better if you just let a mine go through, or just don't go there, so someone else goes and soaks it. Then you moving there and like maybe entering bear form even or something, and just, you know, wasting healing. So yeah, he was very focused on playing the mechanics right, and but he knows that, and like Ryson's giving him good feedback, and it's something to improve on, and it can be improved on, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if it. I mean, you know, hopefully it can. That is so interesting that like it's a way. Like, okay, if a player, I'm not talking about him specifically. If a player doesn't do like good rotationally while they're doing mechanics, that tells you, at least what it tells me, is they are coggy loaded, right? You're like, for example, if you weren't coggy loaded, you are comfortable with what you are required to do for the mechanic, enough so to where you can still do a perfect rotation, then you would do that, right? It's only when you are like stressed or feel overwhelmed that you wouldn't. So how do you work on that?
Is it being more comfortable with the class? Is it playing the game more? Is it getting better in general? All of those things make sense. But how do you specifically work on that? I actually don't know. That's kind of interesting. One button rotation. I know it doesn't work for healers. I'm joking, but like it's like, hey, you really struggle when you have to move and do mechanics. So just like hit that one button rotation every time you have to move. But that's not really a thing. Oh, I'm totally kidding. But yeah. He was also playing a ramp healer. Yeah, no, ramp healers last tier specifically were very in danger because every time you were ramping, the whole rate, like you mattered so much that like during your ramp, you had to make sure that like, you know, you could not miss any of that ramp. The raid was usually set up. The healing CDs were set up to where like that entire person was only having to focus on that. Like sometimes what you do in progression for ramp healers, like we did this on Fyrak, you like spell ward the disc priest just so they don't have to move, so everyone else can like do the mechanic and they're keeping everyone alive, you know? And that can be a nice way to do that, or use externals to facilitate that.
What I will never understand is if this is somebody yesterday also when I was in Kungen's stream or the day before, he also said like, why don't you guys play from NA? I mean, honestly, man, I don't know. At this point, maybe that it's worth to take the latency hit. I don't know, and just play from NA. I'm not sure.
Maybe. I mean, it's such a risk, you know? Also, they've said this after every single raid they've lost. In a post-raid Q&A, someone's like, Max, did you hear Echo's coming to NA next year? Every single raid. And they don't... Probably because it's just really not feasible to do it. You like, how do you know you fill your splits? They'd have to sit through maintenance. Well, yeah, I mean, plus it's... I don't know. Let's hear what else he has to say. I'm assuming you guys said he said a snide comment. I'm assuming this is where that is.
Just the tilt part is it's so expensive to experiment with this.
Yeah.
Both in terms of time and also in terms of...
And if you don't win, what are you even doing?
Money. The helpers is a big problem. Yeah, it is a big problem, but in the end, if you pay double what Liquid pays, we're going to get helpers.
Please don't. Oh, this sounds so annoying.
Let's be real.
This is like pieces all over again.
Method is getting enough helpers. That means we can as well. That's my thinking.
Yeah, but you're both EU guilds and an EU fan base. I mean, I don't know how many Echo fans there are in NA, but certainly, is there enough helpers to go around if they were to incentivize enough of them to go over there through paying them in NA? Probably. I mean, there's less players in NA servers. But I mean, I assume the answer is like we both get our splits done.
I'm not sure, but I would think so. And yeah, I think we could do it. But we would need to, like, I don't know how big the latency is, because it does feel fucking shit during PTR. But that could also be because it's PTR.
So I don't think if they're... Does he mean still playing from EU? Like they're not going to fly into NA to do the event? So it's not bad. So PTR feels bad because the server is in California. So they're going from... There's only one PTR server. It's in LA. So they're playing from like EU to LA, which is astronomical ping. You just need to pick an NA realm with an East Coast server. For example, we play on Chicago for the reason of we don't have all of our EU players in the States. Some of them are playing. So we're all playing at a Team Liquid facility. You'd assume it's in a California server to have the least ping possible. Well, in WoW, if you have like less than like 90 or 80 ping, it's like really almost no different. It's like the same thing. So we split the difference. We get like 40 or 50 ping in progression from California to Chicago, but our players in EU only get like 90 to 100. And that's pretty playable. You know, like we have multiple players who kill every boss every tier that are playing with 100 ping, right? But like your whole guild on that, like, and it's so hard to tell like how much that would affect you over an entire tier.
I don't know.
What's the snide comment?
Max, he even is it out by watching from behind. Yeah, no. It's
oh, of course he's gonna get tilted. I mean, this is the thing that dude, we literally met at BlizzCon and went to dinner with Scripe, me, Scott, Roger, and Ryson, and we tried to like come to some kind of understanding each person's biases about how the like the release difference like affects each guild, and there's just no way we're ever going to agree on that. But let's let him get his bit out here.
It's an advantage, actually.
Wait, say that again?
From behind. Yeah, no, it's an advantage. actually.
I mean, if I'm him, I'm definitely like, hey, starting from behind is worse, by the way. Like, I wouldn't want to be doing that. That sounds really, especially you're a business and you're trying to get viewership. Why do you think they did that, like, heroic raid on NA when NA was up? It's because what really sucks about this is they're basically throwing away all the initial hype viewership just because they're in EU, you know? So you lose money. That fucking blows. You're more likely to be late to all the early bosses and probably first to like the later bosses as well. That majorly affects your bottom line. Watching the person do the new thing is usually only superseded by watching someone kill a really hard boss for the first time, even if it's second. Right? Yeah, death and advantage. Here we go.
No, the reason I'm saying
Get
to
your
go
bit
to
out.
NA is to reduce our advantage so we're playing on an even playing field, guys. I'm sick of having an advantage. Enough is enough. I want it to be fair now.
I mean, I don't think this is bad. Bro, if I'm an EU player and I'm really excited. Have you guys ever been excited to play a game? This makes me mad. And then like a streamer got access to that game one day early and you're sitting here like, man, I want to play this game right now, but this fucking dude is playing it one day ahead of me because he's a goddamn Twitch streamer and you've been looking forward to it for like months. Bro, that pisses me off, right? So imagine that. You're what you do in your life that is the most fun possible is doing the race world first, and every single time it comes out, you just have to be sitting there like the Squidward meme with everyone else having fun and you're just like sitting there waiting.
That's why I'm saying it. Of course, no, he's right. Especially in the second week. That's when the advantage kicks in the best. Because then you know everything. And there's nothing to gain pretty much. But we get to progress Sprocketmonger
Oh, it's
more
still going.
in the first week, which is really good. That's when the advantage kicks in, dude. It's fucking good. Holy shit, it's so good. I love it. God damn.
Dude, he loves the global release, by the way. Or no global release.
Fuck. Okay.
He's fucking feeling it right now.
How do you experiment with? And also, there's no maintenance, so we can, I don't know, sleep longer or something. I don't know. How you all experiment with creating like a long-term supporter program? So, yeah, it's just very complex.
That's cursed.
I don't know. If you have ideas, send them to me. But I haven't found.
You know what would be great is going into the race, if instead of having to do any group finder, we had all these people pre-signed up. They actually showed up on time, and we had everyone set up, pre-vetted for the raid with weak auras in the raid, ready when we were ready to start them by having supporters or whatever. Bro, that you can only do so much with that. There's you do that, and then half the people aren't there for your run, and you end up just recruiting everyone from your group finder anyway.
Something. The big thing is like there was a lot of times the idea of creating a lower end guild, like an Echo Academy type of guild, but nobody nobody can be ours moderating that. Like if someone in that.
I mean, okay, let's say you did moderate it and you had like a support staff that was willing to help and try to have these players get better. Could you develop some good talent? Maybe. But the reality is there's no salary cap in this whole esport here, if you want to call it that. And there is an academy team for the top teams. It's all the other guilds. Like we've been recruiting other guilds' best players for like 5 years. Right? And there's no way you are going to develop an academy guild that is going to develop talent better than every single other guild in the world that is actively cultivating good players by progressing real raids when they come out. You know what I'm saying? Like that makes it not relevant. If you had infinite resources, if you had the means to pay all of our analysts and me and everyone to raid with who we thought the best players were that were outside of Liquid, we put them all into one raid and specifically worked on developing their talent. Could those players make it into Liquid and we are better? Yes, but like the resources that would have to go into that are immense, and it's basically just not possible. There's just not enough money in this, and also I don't even know, like would you even end up recruiting players from there versus a guild that was killing bosses weeks earlier in progression right behind us and we can just recruit their best guy? It's just not, it doesn't really work here.
team goes and posts N-words or harasses women or anyone,
Well, let's back this up.
can be ours moderating that. Like if someone in that team goes and posts N-words or harasses women or anyone, it will get back to us, and we're gonna be like, okay,
Oh, so
no,
you have
of
to,
course,
like, deal
no,
with
we
them.
do not want people to say N-words or harass women, and then like we have to investigate
Well,
it
this is so random.
and kick people and moderate this, and nobody can be fucked. It's just true tilt.
I feel
And,
like
like, I
there's
don't-
like a million problems before it comes into like there's more people to manage, so it's an HR disaster if we're not running it. Yeah, I mean that would also be a
Want these
problem,
people
right?
Also, it's not even that I like just like I don't want people to be angry. I don't.
No,
want
it would
these
definitely
people
be a
to
problem. It's just, like,
represent Echo
that
in
was-
any sort of way. So it's just ICBA. That's why we didn't do that. But there was some thinking about like paying people, like certain people extra, so they make multiple characters and they have like 4, 5, 6 characters and join more splits, like more players that are more proven themselves by getting higher ranks or something. I think Method does this.
Wait, they do?
So their splits are better. But
What do they do?
that are more proven themselves, like more players that are more proven themselves by getting higher ranks or something. I think Method does this. So their splits are better. But I don't know. I mean,
Like the
we might-
Turbo Priest. Yep, shout out Lucy. We have this Lucy guy that came to all of our Gallywix runs. He had like 12 disc priests, did a ton of healing on all of them, just for no reason other than
might
to
do
help our
something
guild.
like that.
Absolute
but
insane
I don't
gamer.
think long-term supporter thing, except for very few people. Like we have some people that do stuff for us, but it's not many people's, and we know these are normal people, and I would be shocked if they were harassing anyone. Let's say, you know. Actually, the N-word and harassing women seems to be a recurring thing. Some people pass.
Why of all of the things you go over that entire segment, and then someone in the chat, you have all these chat messages you can pick from, and you choose to ask for the guy asking again about the harassing women and slamming slurs.
Present. Yeah, we wanna stay away from that. We wanna stay the fuck away from
That
those
is
people.
crazy.
Just to be clear, if that wasn't clear so far.
That is absolutely
Gives
crazy.
Vikara/RT notes for helpers. Yeah, I don't know if anyone cares about that. I would think not, because Liquid already does that, right?
Wait, what do we do?
Notes for helpers. That gives Vikara/RT notes for helpers. Yeah, I don't know if anyone cares about that.
Hmm?
I would think not, because Liquid already does that, right?
Wait, do they not do that? How do you guys don't have weak auras that make the people who are joining your runs pass on loot? How do you I mean, I guess it doesn't happen that much, but like over a few tiers, we've definitely, before doing that, we definitely had people steal loot. You know? So I'm assuming no, yes we do. Oh, then what is he talking about?
Maybe make some guilds as part mess for.
Liquid have the raid pack, but Echo just uses the pass loot thing. Oh, I see. So like I see those as all in one. Like you want your splits to go as smooth as possible. So giving them weak auras that better help them understand the fight they're seeing now for the first time. Which I'm interested, I wonder how much that actually matters. But then that's also given to them at the same time as something that makes them pass on loot. That what? Wait. Oh, so you guys don't give them packs for the boss? I feel like that has to help them a little bit. Maybe not.
What does mean? Part mess? Or race for
We
first
do.
period?
Well, then what is he talking about? I'm
Oh,
so
partners.
confused.
I
We
just don't
do.
want
That's why
anyone
I'm
to
confused.
associate
Oh.
with us in a like not in masses. A few people is fine because we can filter those and see if those people are normal people. But
Is there anything left in this video?
getting like 100+ people into a guild that is called something with echo, I don't want that. We don't even have people. We don't even invite people's friends into our guild. Like if a player has like his best friend of 5 years, he cannot enter echo. We don't have a social rank. Only staff and like analysts and like rate.
Dude, I'm surprised people don't get mad about that. I don't know. I might be unlocking a memory for you guys because it just kind of unlocked for me. But there's a lot of newer race fans, so I'm sure you guys probably don't remember this, but does anyone remember when we were not streaming in Old Year and there was a DBM setting where if any raider in your guild had DBM, and back then we didn't require big wigs, you could use either. We didn't have much of the things we have now. And on DBM, if you were just a casual in the guild, you could go into your DBM and it'll show the furthest progress of anyone in your guild. And because we weren't logging and we weren't streaming, we didn't want anyone to know our progress. But casuals in our guild one casual in our guild looked in their DBM and leaked how low we had the boss. So, yeah. Or you messaged them, like if you just DM'd them or something, it would just show the thing. So, and you had to be in the guild for it to work. So I don't know why this was done, but someone in our guild just decided we have to until the end of this race, we have to remove all of the casuals from the guild. And it was not a lot of people because we were a pretty new guild at that time. There were maybe like 20 total people removed, and they were told that they could rejoin after the race. But for now, and because we can't fix the DBM thing, we're not having a player who's actively progressing this boss download a new add-on. Like, that's not worth the performance loss. So, like, whatever. There's a reason I'm telling you all of this. The memory that I might be unlocking for you is, do you guys remember how fucking mad the community got at us for that? It was crazy. People were mad at us for that for months because, like, every casual that was just now watching the Race World First on stream for the first time, they're Method fans because Method is the guild that's streaming. We are the bad guys because you don't know anything about us. We're the team that might win and you can't see our content, and fuck these guys. We don't know anything about them, right? And then this like Wowhead article came out, and it was like Liquid, or Limit at the time, Limit removes all casuals from guilds. That just struck the perfect chord with all of the casuals who are now learning about the race for the first time, and they thought about that in their own guild, even though guilds at this level are run very differently. And they just, it was the worst PR ever, dude. We were the fucking enemies because of that, and it was the most unimportant thing ever. Those people got invited right back. Nothing of importance happened. But it was basically just the title of the thing just made it. It was just the perfect storm of things that would make casuals hate us.
Are in our guild. Having another guild tied to Echo would probably attract attention seekers and cause more issues than it's worth. Yeah, basically. Not even grandmas. Actually, I don't know. If some player came in to me and said, like, bro, my grandma is like about to die. Like, can we just get her into the guild? This is her dream.
The answer is no. Sorry, Grandma.
I don't know. I would probably think about it and then say no.
I was actually kidding. Dude, fucking Jesus. All right.
Yeah.
Grandma.
We don't have enough spots for it anyways. It's close to full of grandma. Yeah, because grandmas are dangerous, bro. Like, my grandma, I don't know.
Bro, where is this going?
I think grandmas, like, some grandmas are
like
crazy.
You left this in the YouTube video?
Dude. I think they're more dangerous. They also have like more conservative thoughts, and back then some fucked up shit was normal, guys. You know, like my grandma was married.
Bro, what is happening right now?
When she was, I think, 15. I don't know. She might. I mean, she died now. So,
dude, it's insane that this video is titled "Let's Talk About Echo's Race World First Roster," and the level of not giving a fuck with editing left. I mean, low key, this is funny as fuck. But
no
like,
risk.
But this is just crazy that this is where we're going right now.
She died now, so there's no risk. There's not going to be a tweet longer for my grandma, but you know, dangerous stuff.
I mean, maybe this is super meta. Like, he knows this is actually funny.
They may say N-words freely. Yeah, not my grandma never did that. To be clear, I don't think she even knows what that word meant. But just to be clear, yeah. are often racist as fuck. Yeah, I mean, actually, yeah, I would, especially grandmas are not allowed. They are the most dangerous ones. Okay, we relaxed enough, I think. This was
Bro, what a fucking banger minute of a YouTube video. I was on the edge of my seat that whole time.
a lot of shit
That
chat.
could have you could have told me about halfway through that this is gonna go in a direction, and you could name the direction, and I would believe anything in the world. I cannot believe where that went.
But we need to get back to fucking work, guys. There's more interviews to be looked
Yo, shout out the grandmas that are out there. Y'all are dangerous.
at and more mechanics and all this stuff. I didn't even see the artifact item yet.
Okay. Yeah, cool. There was like a little bit in there. There wasn't as much stuff as I thought, but I hope you know how to feel now is all. Yerd. All right, I think that's it. Right? Is there anything else? My phone just fell off my desk. Rip Bubbles in Operation Floodgate. Bubbles was a menace in The War Within Season 2, and now it's time to say goodbye. I don't even know what that means. But that's cool. Just watch it. 100K views. Oh boy. Okay.
Bubbles. What?
Yo, what the fuck?
Okay.
Oh shit.
Bubbles.
They animated the. Is this guy a tomato VTuber? There's so much weird shit happening right now. All right.